So you can
live now. Yep, we're live now. Go.
So we can pick this up on Facebook. We Love Health and Wellbeing page. So we're now live streaming through Facebook. Yes. I love your smile, Chris.
You always get that with Chris, no matter what time of the day.
Wow.
Yeah. He was born like that. He was born like that.
Right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another fantastic Queen's Health Talk. So, Rudy, are we ready to go? Leon, are we ready to go?
Yep. Just
co-host
Rudy in a minute.
And Leon in the background, who does our YouTube channel. Yes, so we're telling the world, we're telling everybody about this. Queen's Health Talk. Like I always say, together we are powerful. So this is what the platform is about. We're coming together and we are so powerful. Strong, we're strong. Okay.
I'm just going to mute everyone and then we could start, yeah?
Okay, cool. Thank you. Right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another sensational Queen's Health Talk. This morning, it's...
you're not recording.
Good to you check me, yeah. I'm slacking, innit? Record the computer. Right, all the technicalities done. Right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another sensational Queen's Health Talk. This morning, we have our Kings session, and it's the Queen's Health Talk, our Kings and Prostate Cancer. Today is going to be a day of learning. It's going to be a day of revelation. It's going to be a day where we're going to get real. It's time for us to let's talk. Yeah, no hiding, no ignoring, no pretending that this thing isn't out there, it's not happening, it's real, and it's real in our community. So what I say every week, and for the newbies coming onto the platform, welcome to the Queen's session on Zoom. Yeah, it's fun. It's just absolutely fantastic to have you all here with us on an early Saturday morning. It's cold, it's wet, it's drizzly, but we are still rocking, we are ready. Yeah, we are excited. Very excited, always excited. We've got the energy, yeah? And that's what we bring to you on a Saturday morning. So what I always say, please have your pens, pads, notebooks ready because you're in school now, yeah? Every Saturday morning you are in school. You come to be educated, you come to be enlightened, and you've come to learn and take away that knowledge to share with others. And that's what it's about this morning. So have your pens, pads, notebooks ready. Please post any questions into the chat. We will soon have our wonderful co-host Nadia back, but she's not back yet. Nadia's from the Black Help group and she does phenomenal work. You can Google her, but Nadia, and it's the Black Help group. We'll have a Q&A at the end. So you'll have an opportunity to ask our speakers on the platform any questions. So that's the format for this morning. So again, hi, welcome. Good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world, you are in the right place. This is the place to be on a Saturday morning. Can we get a thumbs up? Yeah. Hold up our cameras off, but I know that you're here. I know that you're tentatively listening. So once again, a big thank you for joining us. So what's happened so far? Last week, we had the session about the walking group. So we are a walking group. And the reason why we're Zooming, and I need to sort out, as I say this for the new people. So the reason why we're Zooming is because we're a walking group. And when the government said back in November, end of October, November 2020, that we couldn't meet in large groups because, of course, we're in this pandemic, this surreal, crazy time, we had to stop. So I had to think of a way in which to keep my beautiful regal queens engaged. So we came with Zoom. And then I had a couple of them ringing me, Joan, can my friend come? Can my sister come? Because the topics that I picked were topics that would interest us. So the first session we did was Queen's Black Hair Rocks, which did rock. last week, as I said, we did a session on the Queen's Walking Group, and that was boom. Yeah, got loads of walking groups that are going to come on board, and those are already operational, up and walking. We've actually got them out walking today, now, all over the country. What else have we done? So we have done, we've done quite a few business events. We've got a Black business, so it's the Queen's Rudy J Black business event coming up next Saturday. And I love those sessions, just to showcase our fantastic micro businesses that are out there in the community doing amazing stuff. The creativity, it's just fantastic. We're all on a 30-day intermittent fasting challenge as well. So we've been doing different fasting challenges since February, and we've got a wonderful group of ladies and a couple guys are in there as well, a couple of the kings. And the testimonials have been, wow, you know, the health benefits that have been derived from being on the challenge. So hopefully as well, we get a couple of them to come on at the end of the month to talk about give their testimonials about what it's been like for them. We've got a couple of more health talks coming up. We're going to be talking about melanin skin. We're going to probably do a session on diabetes, blood pressure. So we have got an array of events coming up. Forthcoming events. Oh gosh, what else have we got coming up? Gosh, we've got so many, I can't even think. We've got another session on Queen's mind, body, and soul. And the last session we did, it was just, you know, Queen's mind, body, and soul. That was just rocking. So yes, we have an amazing way of Zoom events coming up. And so get ready, it's going to be exciting. So to hear about future Queen's walking events, please follow us on Eventbrite. This Zoom is being recorded. It's also being live streamed through Facebook and YouTube. So please share. Yeah, I think the information is in the chat. So, you know, hook us up on whatever platform is suitable for you. We also have an Instagram, some recordings on there. If you go under, we like to do nice things, you'll find a few bits and pieces there as well. So, kings and queens on the platform, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. This is just going to be an amazing session. Have your notebooks ready, have your pens, your pads. It's time to talk about prostate cancer, risk in Black men, and what we can do about it. Black men are more likely to get prostate cancer than other men. We have a 1 in 8 chance of getting prostate cancer. You may also be more likely to get prostate cancer as a Black man if you're aged 45 and over, and your risk increases as you get older. Your father or your brother has had it. So that's the kind of, you know, stats that we're dealing with. And we've got, you know, Big Chris here is going to talk about, he's going to be our first presenter, is going to kick off and tell you about his story, his journey. More than 40,000 men are diagnosed with prostate cancer every year in England. More than 9,000 men die from prostate cancer every year. Every hour, 1 man dies from prostate cancer in England. More than 325,000 men are living with and after prostate cancer here in the UK. Prostate cancer is the most common cancer in men in the UK. Although it affects all men, Black men, Black men are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop this cancer than their white counterparts. The death rate is twice as high. Furthermore, Black men are more likely to develop prostate cancer at a younger age. And when I was researching into this, I didn't even know that fact, that younger men, I always thought it was older. So once you start delving in and looking into this, it's quite serious. It is essential that Black men in particular know about their increased risk to prostate cancer. So when this dropped into my spirit last week, I don't know what happened. I must have been reading something, or I'm a very spiritual person. When I'm out doing my walking, things will come to me. And I thought this weekend now, we've got to do a session for the men, and especially around prostate cancer. We've done loads of things for the Queens, today, this morning, it's about the kings. We love our kings and we want them to be around for as long as ever. Yeah, we want them to live. We want them to have that good quality of life. We want them to be our life partners. We don't want them disappearing off from this disease, this killer, where it can be cured. There is life after prostate cancer. So Chris, aka Big Chris, prostate cancer survivor, living life and happy to bring awareness to all men. Chris, I honor you, I applaud you. Please, can you share your story with us? Good morning.
Well,
Good
first
morning.
of all, good morning, Jan. Thank you for a wonderful introduction. I'd like to thank the Queen's production team, Rudy and Errol for my support so far. And this morning, I'd like to thank all the walkers and all the listeners for taking time out of your life to help bring awareness, because this is not something that you can do alone. We have to do it as a community, as a family starting off, to a community, and broader, we're going to bring it out to our race and into our culture. We want to make this thing a natural, stigma to Black people. We check ourselves. We are as one when it comes to prostate cancer. Well, I could talk forever, but I'm not going to. As I said, I'm living life, and my smile tells you that I'm living life. I am in remission of cancer, and at the moment I'm having some radiotherapy. I'll come on to that in a minute. And that does not take away my smile. It does not take away my life. But being educated from my father and being able to pass it on to others, including my children, and getting the support of my family, my brothers and sisters all around me, has enabled me to be here today, educating and supporting others, because not everyone could do it. I'm a talker. I feel comfortable doing it. There are many others that can't. So that's why I'm here. And please, we must understand this is not easy for everyone to come out and do. And when they are having problems and having difficulties reaching out, we must just still continue to support them. My journey started when my dad, who was living abroad, so he wasn't local with me, he wasn't in England, he was in the US, and he told me he was having some treatment on his prostate. Dads, they calm it down because they don't want you to panic. And this was like 13 years ago. He explained to me what he was doing. He was going through regular radiotherapy, and he had prostate cancer. It came through fine, and that little journey that my dad had in America enabled me to understand what I had to do. And he said to me, son, go to your doctors and check it out. And I'm 55 now, and I must have started checking in my mid-40s. In my mid-40s, I went to the doctor, and at that time, I had the physical examination. And they told me, okay, your father's had it. We'll do a physical examination. Uncomfortable as it was, I'm still here to talk about it. But that was the one-off. Because after that, it was educated to me that I don't need to have a physical examination every time I see my doctor. I just need to have a blood test, the PSA blood test. It is not part of your regular every year MOT. You might go to the doctors as a man, as a Black man, we could say, and the doctor might say to you, okay, I'll put you down for MOT. We must say to the doctor, please, can my PSA, prostate specific enzyme, be also included in that blood test? Because some doctors, I'm still hearing it, are saying to the patient, why? And regardless of what you got in your family, you need to say to them, it's in my family. This is not something that we hide. Our parents had many things from us to protect us. Okay, let's put it that way. They've done it to protect us. Today, we cannot no longer continue to hide this. We need to say it out loud and clear as men that we need to get checked. And my doctor done my PSA every year for a period of 9 years. 3 years ago, my PSA level started to rise because it starts off at a low level, 1, 2.0, what have you. It started to rise. And to cut the story short, when it reached 5.7, it raised concerns that they said to me, we need to have a scan. We need to have a scan of your prostate because we're seeing that the PSA level has risen. And had a scan, and they saw shadows. They saw areas where they wanted to test. So based on that scan, they were able then to. I had to have a biopsy. Now the biopsy is another uncomfortable situation where they put a probe in your rectum, and I said to them, again, you have the power. I'm telling you this. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a real person. I'm not comfortable with that. Can you knock me out? Basically, give me a general day clinic where I'll go in. They put me to sleep. They do what they got to do. They get the results. You're uncomfortable for the day, but you continue living. And those results showed I had prostate cancer in February 2019. How did I deal with that? Well, first of all, I was not in a bubble. I lost a dear friend 5 years ago of cancer in 1 week. He had eye problems. We didn't know what it was. He was meant to travel with me in 3-4 weeks' time. He was in Paddington Hospital. And we were by his side. We were a group of 14, 15 guys. We were very close. And it came to the last week. We thought he was just going to get antibiotics, going to be released. And they said, I'm sorry, we've seen cancer cells. This was on a Wednesday. By the following Wednesday, he had gone. He had passed. Now, we've all lost people in our lives. So we don't have to go. I don't have to explain how that feeling was. But what that taught me, well, that came home to me. He wasn't my blood brother. He wasn't my blood sister. He was my brother, but not by birth. He brought it home to me. And sometimes it takes something to bring it home to you. And that was 5 years ago. I did not have any signs of cancer 5 years ago. But from that day, I started to meet people. Errol, and I mean, Errol is what MBE, Errol McKellar. I had a meal with Errol, and that same gentleman in September, and in November, that person had passed away. Errol and myself went to the same primary school, even though he's a more mature gentleman than me. I'll put it that way. We went to the same primary school and the same secondary school, grew up in the same area, yet still, we lived different lives. However, prostate cancer awareness for men has brought us together. And I am one of Errol's soldiers. He's given me the confidence. This is maybe 7, I don't know, over a dozen talks I've done on this. There's no paper. This is just for my heart. This is called freestyling because I'm living it. I'm living it. I had the surgery in 2019, in June. I had my prostate removed. The journey after that brought in a lot of complications. My body changed, my lower body changed, my mind was changing because of what I was going through. My body was changing while it rebuilt itself. And while it rebuilt itself, my family became key. But not only my family. It's very easy to say family, but not everybody's got a big family. Not everybody. My network, my social network of friends are invaluable to me. They've helped me in my early life, and they are still helping me today. And those people reached out. However, I have to tilt my hat to the ladies. As a man, we don't see the doctors. We don't need to go to the doctor. You know, we get a bad knee. I play football, cricket, get a bad knee, I go to the doctors. Why am I going to a doctor for? So my introduction to my surgery was in my 50s almost. And I'm like, I'm a big black man. You know, you can't tell me about my body. You know, I'm 50 odd years old. I'm good. And that is where we're going wrong. That is where it's difficult for us men. As much as we're in our 50s, we have not really had that interaction with the health clinic. We have not been doing our checks. That's what comes on to checks, ladies and gents. Men don't have reason to go to the doctors at an earlier age. Ladies do. And when I was going on my recovery journey, oh my goodness, I then started to understand what ladies go through. Pelvic floor exercises. What's that for a man? Tell that to any man under 40. He hasn't got a clue. But I tell you this, from the moment you start having prostate problems, that muscle area, that you learn a lot about that region. Ladies have been going through pelvic floor exercises from the time they gave birth to that beautiful child that you love and you adore. Ladies have bladder issues based on their experience of pregnancies and other complications. Us men, we only, sometimes even when we have a problem with our, I'm going to call it love muscle. And you might smile, because it is a muscle. And just to say, on that muscle, if you don't use it, you would lose it. So that muscle that we carry around and we think we're comfortable with, if we don't get it checked out, and if we don't respect it, when it's crying out for care, when it's crying out for some form of attention, and we think, I'm not going to tell nobody because, you know, it's mine and I don't want no one to feel I'm lesser man. You're not lesser man. Go to your doctors. There's various symptoms Errol would explain that you would get. Go to your doctors and have that conversation. Come to Errol Michaela, come to myself, come to many of the prostate groups in the UK that are trying to tell you we are there for you. And we would speak to you about your, what you can do, what direction you could take. Do not leave it too late, because then it becomes out of our hands. I caught mine early, I had my surgery, I had massive support from my community, various ladies who have been going through various cancer situations themselves helped me to understand that I am not alone. And that is key. We are not alone. My children, they're teenagers and they're in their 20s, they understand. They've been educated by me now about prostate cancer. And that's another word, education, whether it's in schools, but we've got to start from our families and the people around us. I'm in a group of gentlemen and 3-4 guys have come to me and spoken to me about it. In the last 3 weeks, 3 people, 1 lady, 2 men have come directly to me. One's having radiotherapy, one's having chemo, and one's waiting for a test. And these people are very close to me. These are people that I would leave my house on a Saturday night to go out and socialize with, happily socialize with. So I'm bringing you, these are people around me. So when you think it's not here, it is here, but some people are not talking about it. A quick story I'm going to mention. I'm having radiotherapy because after 2 years, your pre-health checks for prostate cancer or for any health issues really are just as important as your post. Your post, I've had my surgery and I'm still having my checks. And I went to, the doctors had an MRI scan on me and they said, we're seeing small cells waking up, still below the radar, but we have the technology now to see that. So we want to apply a bit of radiotherapy to that area, to the bed of the prostate. My prostate's gone. The prostate is somewhere in some lab somewhere. I don't know what they're doing with it. But the bed of my prostate, there's still some tingling. And those tinglings is where cells could you often hear people saying, oh, it's come back. So as much as I'm a survivor of part 1, but I'm living through the life. And I'm having some radiotherapy. I'm in the middle of it now. Doesn't change me. Still got the smile, right? It's a small process for me, but every radiotherapy and every chemo session is different to everyone. I'm still keeping positive. But I met a gentleman in the waiting room yesterday. He was an Asian gentleman, and sometimes we think Asians are all doctors. Every Asian we see, we think they're a doctor. He's in his 60s, he's sitting there dressed proper. And he said to me, why are we here? And I just gave him a little burst. I said, we're here because, and it ended up he had the same surgeon as me, Norfolk Park, Charing Cross, the same doctor, had cancer, had his prostate removed 2 years ago, yet he did not understand. He said, have I got cancer? I said to him, we've all got cancer. However, different things react. Those cells are in our body. And he's like, oh, and then I explained to him, I said, basically the dishes have gone. The potato has gone. They're just rinsing the sink. They're just killing the weeds in the bed. So you could continue living life. I went on and spoke to him for 2 more minutes. He turned to me and he goes, "You should be a doctor." I said, "No, I'm just a human being living life and happy to tell my story." This was an aging gentleman. And you know, they're very humble. Sometimes they're very proud, more proud than humble. And I was able to educate him. So if I can educate a stranger, right? 80% of the people here maybe are strangers to me. I'm telling you, I'm not a stranger to you. I'm a black man with a family that wants to live life. And all I could do today, tomorrow, and going forward, I would do to support others, because I love my family, I love my life. And I think that's key. We must have love in our family. The doctors have brought me down to 80%. They've taken away my prostate, but the doctors will not take away my love for life. Thank you.
Chris, I'm so humbled by hearing your story. What a journey. What a journey. And you tell it so eloquently. How are you feeling now?
I'm great. You know, you wait. You know, when you wake up, you look outside. It's raining. Right now, I'm on the way to coach. I coach youngsters, young men in football. I was working last night. My family's all over the place. I'm living life. My dad's in America. I haven't seen him for the last year and a half due to this pandemic. But this pandemic has brought us closer, because I think it's hard to tell somebody to say, "Oh, I got to dance, prostate cancer, come along," unless they see their favorite DJs, but they're not coming. But this Zoom session, the Queen session, and many others, I thank them for bringing this to us. We never had the time, so we never had the time for our own life. But this pandemic has given us that time. It's always been there. We just had to find it. Thank you, ladies and gents, for listening. As I said, I could talk forever because I'm living my life.
I've just seen your cousin sending you big love, Ruth.
Oh gosh.
He's sending you big love. Chris, you've and this is why I wanted to start the session with you. You know, it's not about prostate cancer happening to somebody else. It can happen to anybody. It's indiscriminate, just like this virus. Anybody. So you could be the big shot, or you could be the little humble person. It doesn't matter. It's about the human body, and this thing can affect any of our men, and especially our black men. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, myself, Rudy, Leon, all of us. You know, we are so grateful, because it's the science is there, but it's about seeing somebody real, like yourself. We know you as Big Chris.
Thank you.
Always smiling, always happy, and yet you're going through all this stuff. And I commend you as a black man. Because enough black men have had it, and they're not going to come out and talk about it, but you're just shouting from the rafters about this. So I commend you, and I thank you so much. I know you've got to run off to football, but please keep listening.
I will do.
People want to ask you questions.
I'm going to try and stick around here.
Please do, because as I said, there's things coming up in the chat already, so people want to ask questions. But what I normally do, I let everybody present, and then we have the Q&A at the end.
I'll tune in for the Q&A. I'll be still here for a while. Thank you again, everyone. You know what? This is beautiful. I love it. This for me, this has been one of the biggest things of the pandemic for me. Being able to reach out to so many people in a way where they're comfortable. You know, they're sitting down. Do not be in a dark place. Please, please, please. You know, you're a stranger. Get my number from Errol. Ring up the Errol McKellar phone. Ring up, speak to us. Don't be in a dark place. Live life.
What I normally say, just pop it into the chat, or get somebody to pop it into the chat, your contact details, if you're happy you're going to get the world and his wife ringing you now.
You know what? It's not a problem. You know, the world, if it's black people, we're going to live longer. Keep it going. Beautiful presentation. Thank you, Chad.
God bless you. Thank you so much. I've got somebody who was asking about the PSA test. Did you know anything about that? Is it just part of the blood test?
No, it's not. It is a blood test. I think it's in a purple tube. You go along to the doctors, and they normally do a blood test. They normally take your liver, your blood sugar, and all that. But the PSA is just it's a tick sheet. They tick it, and it means that they would put it into a different bottle, and it goes away to a different lab. So it's the same blood. It's nothing special. But it must be on that sheet. Even my own doctors forgot to give me a PSA check when they were meant to be doing it every 3 months. And I rang up the surgery. They were so apologetic that they called me in for an emergency blood test. So do not wait for your doctors. Male, females, do not wait for your doctors. We must, the NHS, best in the world. However, we must manage it. Do not sit back and wait for a phone call. Go out there, wait outside, and get your tests, get your results.
Right. And how long does it take to get for the results to come through? How long does it
A
take
week.
for you?
A week.
Oh, just a week. Oh, it's
A
quick.
week. Yep.
Okay.
And if it's anything important, they would call you. If you don't hear from them, it's all good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I know that you've got to run off, but God bless you, and we wish you well in your journey. And I can actually see us doing a part 2 of this. I mean, there's 119 people on the platform, kings and queens. And what is so beautiful, because it's normally a queen's female session, I could see the kings are on the platform. And I'm so grateful, kings that are here. Please, just hang on, tell other people that you're on this platform, share the link. Because we want to get as many people on the platform just to hear these powerful messages this morning. So Big Chris, aka Big Chris, God bless you, and thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. We really appreciate you. Long life, live long. Blessings. Right, so moving on to our next presenter this morning, we have got Dr. Rose Thompson, Director of BME Cancer Communities, honorary degree of Doctor of Social Science in recognition of her significant contribution to the BME community engagement in preventative cancer. So, Rose, are you here?
Hi, yes, I am.
Oh, wonderful.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, Errol, and everyone. It's lovely to be here this morning.
I'm just going to tell the people a bit more about you, Rose. So, beginning as a radiotherapist, then radiographer at superintendent grade, Rose Thompson has over 40 years' experience in cancer services. Due to this, Rose was invited to become the National Black and Minority Ethnic Cancer Information Specialist at Europe's leading cancer information and support charity, Cancer Backup, now integrated with Macmillan Cancer Support. Rose is currently a member of the Advisory Committee on Breast Cancer Screening and an advisor and trustee for Can Survive UK. Rose is an influential advocate for people affected by cancer, particularly where there is a family history, since becoming the 5th member of her own family to be diagnosed with breast cancer back in 2015. Rose has authored 2 reports on high prostate cancer inequalities, including higher death rates in Black men, which were launched in the House of Commons between 2013 and 2014. The reports triggered a national campaign which raised awareness and developed the Check Things Out community clinic in Nottingham. Rose continues to develop supportive services in the community, the latest project being the Sisters Against Cancer Support Group, alongside being a peer patient champion for the 100,000 Genomes Project and the director of the BME Cancer Communities. Rose, Dr. Rose Thompson, we are so humbled and honoured to have you with us this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joan, and everyone. Every time I hear those introductions, I think, who are they talking about? But but thank you to you and my dear friend Cynthia, who I believe is going to speak as well,
yes.
For actually introducing me to you, Joan. We only met this week, didn't we?
Yes.
And it was interesting to me that Joan had not heard of the work that I'd done, even though all the charities know about it.
Yeah.
And I met Errol. Errol was the same. I met Errol when he was actually an ambassador for a large charity, and he didn't know either. Yeah. So I've always preferred to stay in the background, but I'm coming forward now. I started, the charity that we started was called BME Cancer Communities, but I never liked the term BME. So I used to call it Be Me, put yourself in my place. And, you know, we do focus on ethnic groups and also low-income household groups as well. But I am actually well known, and I wanted to get something up from my other computer, but Lord knows where it is. I have brain fog. So I'm going to just quickly talk about prostate cancer, because you need to know about cancer before you talk about prostate cancer. You need to know where the prostate gland is, and you also need to know what is happening with our Black men now. And for me, it's not just about raising cancer awareness, it's about doing something about it. So in Nottingham, the reports that I wrote, we were able to call the authorities to action and get some funding off them to do what you mentioned, the Check Things Out prostate cancer clinic, where we checked over 300 men and we got their GPs to follow them up. And we have brought down the death rates. We were going to funerals every week, and we brought down the death rate, and we have a support group that became an independent charity, Friends and Brethrens, and now they can get on with it. And I'm focusing a bit more on breast cancer. And we did speak, Joan, because I know that you have a lot of women in this group, and I'm really pleased to be doing it to a group of women. Thank you to the men for joining as well. But the women lacked awareness as well. And everybody says prostrate, and it's actually prostate. And so there was a play about it that one of our poets wrote, Benjamin, and he used this term, and I'm going to use patois, is a condition, not a position. So it's not prostrate laying down, it's actually prostate gland. Okay. So I'm just going to say that cancer is not a single condition. Prostate cancer is actually just one type of cancer, and there are over 220 types. And within that, you have subtypes as well. So not all women, for example, will have breast cancer that is fueled by hormones. About 15% won't, and that's more common in Black women, which I'm going to be doing a report on them next. And it's the same with prostate cancer. But what we do know about prostate cancer is that it is more common, as Joan said, in Black men, and has been for many years. And previously, we had to get all our information from the US. And then Professor Frank Chinigwanda, who is a friend as well, did a report about prostate cancer in Northeast London and said Black men in Northeast London were 3 times more likely to be diagnosed. And then there was a follow-up in Bristol. By the time I wrote my reports, I was waiting for what we call the mortality rates, the death rates. I don't like to talk about death, but our men were twice as likely to die in England. In 2012, it took to get that. So I wrote this report. I can't pull it up on screen because it's called Hear Me Now, The Uncomfortable Reality of Prostate Cancer in Black African Caribbean Men. And then I followed it up the following year, because it's not just about raising awareness. That was launched in the House of Commons with this one. Hear Me Now, 1 year on, the call to action. These are on our website, bmecancer.com. They can be downloaded with all the information about what we found. And we just wanted to do something because the well man check does not, in the UK, does not include the PSA test and the examination of the prostate gland, which can only be done through the back passage because it lies in front of it. I'll show you a picture of where it is. So what we did is actually use the statistics in there and the evidence to actually call out the authorities, and just to really try and get some action done, and did a national tour, and that's how we got our clinic. So just to say where the prostate gland is, I have to just go on to what my dear husband has pulled up. Can I share screen?
Yes, you can. You can. Yeah. You can. And if somebody could also post the details of the report into the chat, I'm sure people want to download.
Yeah, I'll do that. What I'll do is all our reports are on our website. We changed the name from BME Cancer Communities to Be Me Against Cancer. So if I just put that in the chat, then you'll be able to see that.
Thank you.
And Be Me is B''me against cancer. If you Google it, but it's bmecancer.com. You can see all our reports, not just that, but there's others as well. So I'm just trying to get it up now. Not my forte, but we're all old, isn't it? Well, I am. I'm 65 this year.
You're looking
So my
good,
husband,
Queen. You're looking good, Queen.
yeah, 66 next year, pension age next year. And I had actually kind of semi-retired because I was going through the cancer, breast cancer that I got actually was hidden from the mammogram. It was in the wrong place, basically. So it was stage 3 by the time I actually found it because of pain in 7 glands. But I think I'm on this as well, Joan, just to say to our women as well. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I can just bring it down.
So what's your message to the Queens, Rose?
To the Queens is thank you so much for, I know you were doing walking before, Joan.
Yes.
And that's really important for cancer. But I also, sorry, I'm just going to go back so I can share it. I'm just going to, just hold a minute. I also want to say how important physical activity is for actually making our immune system stronger. And so it's good to exercise, even if you can just stand up, sit down in your house, it's really important. So thank you for that. But if I can't share this, I'm just going to go back, which is quite difficult now. I'm sorry, just give me a moment.
That's all right. No worries, no worries. So after Rose, we're going to have Cynthia Dwyer, another powerful woman. She's going to talk about her journey as a carer.
Yeah.
Okay, you good, Rose?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get out of the screen that my husband set up for me and I can't get out of now. I'll get back onto about this. Do you want to go on to Cynthia and then I will come back in?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
I know Cynthia's here. Cynthia Dwyer, another fantastic woman, founder, co-director of the Hugh Dwyer Inspirational Foundation. Cynthia is the widow of the late Herbert Samuel Dwyer, fondly known as Hugh. Cynthia is a qualified welfare officer and has worked mainly within the community and has held various positions such as senior social work assistant, outreach worker, senior care assistant. She's held a whole raft of jobs. However, the message here, the thing is, Cynthia was just like me and you. Yeah, just a normal Black woman, married, living her life with her husband and her children. She's got 4 children. And then bang. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her journey. And being in these particular professions, this is what empowered Cynthia to go on this it's a phenomenal journey. When Cynthia's late husband, Herbert Hugh, was diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer in 2009, for Cynthia and Hugh, the way in which they were treated by the medical profession on his journey, it was not the best. It was not the best. And I've heard it time and time again where men, people have gone to their GPs for particular symptoms and it's all brushed aside. Or for whatever reason, it's like a block. What we are saying to you on this platform this morning, do not give up. Be persistent. Yeah, we have got the best health service in the world, but there are times when you're going to have to be kicking at some doors. You're going to be screaming. Yeah, you're going to have to. Sometimes you might have to just get raw on them. Yeah, just to get what is deservedly yours. Yeah, so it's people like Errol, Rose, Cynthia, Chris, and I'm telling you, and we need more people out there trailblazing and fighting. Yeah, we've always had to fight. And right now, Black men, it's the fight of your lives now. You've got to fight. So Cynthia met Rose, Dr. Rose Thompson from the BME cancer communities in Nottingham, who supported them and helped to challenge the behavior of the medical profession. Yeah. You don't have to always be there, yes, 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 and accepting everything they tell you. If the thing is not right, you're going to have to talk up. Yeah, you're going to have to fight. And we've always been fighting. We've always been fighting. So now on this journey, Cynthia and Hugh realised that there was a void in our Black community. All fired up, they decided they wanted to raise awareness of prostate cancer and how it affects BAME men, their families and their friends, because this thing has that ripple effect. It really does. Sadly, Hugh passed away on the 4th of June in 2010, but his legacy and their dream goes on via the Hugh Dwight Inspirational Foundation. My darling Cynthia, it's over to you. And thank you so much for being on the platform. You're a
Thank
queen.
you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you a little bit low.
Oh gosh, this
You're a
always
little, you're a
happens
little
when I
bit
go on
low.
Zoom. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right. I know every time I go on Zoom, I don't know what goes on. I end up being quiet, which is which is not like me. But yeah, thank you for inviting me along. The thing that gets me is that if I tell you Hugh's story before I go into what I've had to do to as a carer, Hugh was a keep fit and a healthy eating fanatic. Even used old time backyard remedies, as the West Indians would say.
Yeah.
And he was a vegetarian.
Okay.
And on and off for 3 years prior to him being diagnosed, he was going to his GP, and uh, due to he had most of the symptoms actually, but every time he went, they actually thought that he had a urine infection because he would tell them that he had water problems. And as we know in the Caribbean, they talk about water problems or stoppage of water. And the doctors didn't pick that up, that he might have prostate cancer. And that was going on for 3 years, on and off. And the other family background was that both his parents passed away with cancer, his father with pancreatic cancer, and his mother from secondary breast cancer after being in remission for 13 years. As I said, that Hugh had these problems. So I'm going to tell you Hugh's story because it's better, because he'll have a better understanding. Just after Christmas 2008, Hugh started to have back pain, pain in his back, and was given ibuprofen, which was making him sick, but the pain eased off. Then on the 14th of January 2009, the severe pain came back. He was working at the time and got sent home due to he was in such a bad state. He was given some more strong painkillers and was told he had severe back strain, but his health deteriorated. Hugh was 13 stone and in a matter of weeks went down to 11.5 stone. I was not happy about this, so I contacted his GP and requested that the GP do further tests due to cancer being on both sides of the family. I had a difficult time getting Hugh seen, but I continued to pursue the matter, that he needs to be seen. On the 28th of January 2009, on Hugh's 58th birthday, Hugh and I went to see his GP, who examined him and told him his prostate was a bit large, but it wasn't unusual for a man of his age. The GP wanted Hugh to go to the hospital the following day to have several blood tests done, including the PSA test. Hugh went and did this, and on the 30th of January 2009, he received a phone call from his GP that some of the blood test results had come back, and he needed to see Hugh on the 2nd of January 2009. When Hugh phoned me and told me that the results had come back so quickly, it raised alarm bells for me because I had never heard of blood test results coming back so quickly. When we went to the GP on the 2nd of February 2009, he called us into the room and said to me that he was glad to see me with Hugh and giving Hugh support. He then said to us there was no way of mixing his words, which he said to us several times. So Hugh and I looked at each other, and Hugh asked the GP what was he trying to say if he had cancer. All he would say to that, he will be making a referral to the oncologist consultant, and Hugh should be seen in a few weeks. Thank God there was a cancellation the following day. When the consultant seen Hugh, he told him he was 100% sure that Hugh had prostate cancer. Hugh then had to have a biopsy and a bone scan due to him being so young. The biopsy showed that Hugh had got prostate cancer, and the bone scan showed that he had secondary cancer in his bones, and this was in his spine, pelvis, ribs, and left femur. Hugh was started on hormone treatment and pain patches. His PSA was 199. On the 17th of August 2009, his PSA came down to 194. By the 22nd of September 2009, it was to 400 due to it being aggressive. So the suggestion was to start radiation and chemotherapy, but Hugh needed an MRI scan before this could be done. On the morning of the 25th of September 2009, Hugh had an MRI scan, and by the evening, Hugh was called back into hospital. From August 2009, Hugh's health had deteriorated to the point he could hardly walk. The scan showed that there was a tumour pressing on his spine. They caught it early and was able to treat it with radiation. He was told by the medical staff who found it that if it had not been detected at the time it was, Hugh would have been paralysed. His PSA had also risen to 620. Hugh fractured his hip whilst in hospital, just walking around from the bathroom to his bed, and had to have an operation to have it pinned. This was due to bony spread, which meant his bones were weak due to the cancer. At times, I get so angry. Why? Because the early signs were not picked up, and my late husband ended up with advanced prostate cancer. There's also a need, as we keep on saying within the BME community, that we need to raise the profile and promote within the community about prostate cancer, and to highlight the fact that even though any male can have prostate symptoms, stroke cancer, if caught early enough, it is treatable. Hugh always took his health and well-being seriously, and yet sadly on the 4th of June 2010, Hugh lost his battle with prostate cancer. This cannot continue to happen. Hugh and I made a promise to each other that we need to raise the awareness of prostate cancer, especially within the BME men, and how a knock-on effect with the family, and it is still doing today. There is a void in the family. We were prepared to attend meetings. such as conferences and seminars. So he and we could tell our story and go on any campaign to raise the profile and hopefully make a positive change, stroke difference. Sadly, Hugh passed away, but his legacy to raise awareness, stroke support will carry on via family and friends and myself. I intend to use my anger, the anger I feel, and turn it into a positive in tribute of my late husband's soulmate, lover, and friend, Hugh. And Joan, the other part of this is being a carer. The amount of challenges that I had. Hugh had to spend 2 months longer in hospital because they refused to come out and do a home assessment. They wanted to send him home, put a commode in the kitchen, put a bed in the sitting room where you can open the door and and you could see him laying in the bed. And I had to challenge that. There was times where I was so angry, and I had to call around the table meeting with all the parties involved in Hugh's care to make sure he got the right care. And there, the Macmillan nurse offered me counselling. And I thought to myself, well, what's she offering me the counselling for? But you know what, Joan? I say, thank God, because that counselling was going to help me to address the issues of what I'm going to be facing with someone who's dying, a loved one who's dying. And even though he fought for 17 months, they gave him 18. He survived 17, and I mean, he fought. But the way there was no, if it wasn't for Rose, there was no support. We didn't know where to go. We didn't know who to ask for support. And that is one of the reasons why the Hugh Dwyer Inspirational Foundation was formed. Because I don't want anybody to go through what we went through. We still are going through it. But I'm hoping today, what you've put on, that our queens and kings will realize this is not no joke business. If you're at the age where you're supposed to be examined, please, 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 even if the doctors turn you away, please, 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 ask them for the prostate specific antigen, the PSA test, and the digital rectal examination, the DRE test. Those two will give a reading of what is happening, because the fight is still on. Sadly, I didn't, it wasn't until I pushed and got Hugh into my doctors that things started turning around a bit more better. But the doctor before, when I used to speak and ask specific questions, he turned his back on me, because it's like I'm asking too much questions for my husband. But us sisters, we know we have to ask those questions to get the right health and care for our loved ones. My old manager, when I was so vexed when I was ringing to ask for Hugh to be seen again because of the weight loss and him still not being right, the receptionists, they call them gatekeepers, that but they wouldn't even allow me to get to see if Hugh could see his own GP. And what happened in the end, when I spoke to my manager, she said to me, Cynthia, you're going to have to ring them back, but don't lose it, basically, because you're trying to help your husband. Thank God the receptionist who did pick up the phone was so helpful. She says, okay, I will tell you the doctor, I'll tell the doctors, his doctor, what you said. And she says, oh, you'll ring you back at lunchtime. And you know what, Joan? She rang me back. That was 9 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, she rang me back to say, Hugh's doctor said that he's got to be seen by the same doctor who's been seeing him. But it just goes to show, with the right person in place, it can make a difference. How I met Rose was that Hugh and I was doing a Sunday show each Sunday, reminiscing about him growing up in Jamaica, me growing up in the West Indian family in the UK. And it was one of our listeners that said to us, when Hugh decided to tell them what was wrong with him because he couldn't go on the show, it was a lady, I've forgot her name at the moment, but she referred us to Rose. And I tell you, Rose was like our right-hand woman, because anything that was medically, in medical terminology, Rose was able to tell us in layman terms what was going on. So, I'm here and I will continue to fight. I will continue to fight, because even now I hear of cases very similar to Hugh's, and it's like someone puts a red hot poker up my back, because we can't keep on letting our soul brothers die like this, either by doctors' ignorance or because they don't understand the terminology, and that's where I will stop.
Oh, Cynthia, you've got me. I mean, I'm here I'm just trying to hold back, because that journey that you've been on, it's so real, and there are so many families that are going, who have gone through it, who are going through it unnecessarily. Could you please tell us a little bit more about the foundation? You have this wonderful dinner, spectacular gala dinner, and this is turning going through such an awful experience, and to lose a loved one, and to be able to get the strength to do what you do is, I am humbled, seriously humbled.
Hugh was this type of man. From the young to the old respected him. Yeah, he was a community man. He was on the management committee of our African Caribbean project when it was around. That's what Hugh was. Hugh was a qualified painter and decorator. And if anybody wanted to help or advise, even our own kids, if they played me up or whatever, he used to there's a shed down the bottom of my garden what he built, yeah, and anytime he was angry, he used to go down that shed and build it, and he'd take the kids down there, and that's him confiding in the kids. Even if I was to ask him what him and the kids were talking about, he'd say, that's none of your business. That's between me and the kids, and you ask the kids now and they tell you about the void. I even had to find out about counselling for the children, the younger children, because they missed him so much, and they still miss him. We talk about Hugh, it's like Hugh's alive with us today, but when you look around, there's no Hugh.
Yeah.
But like as you say about the aims and the objectives of the Hugh Dwyer Inspirational Dwyer Foundation. Sorry, I'm stuttering because I'm.
Take your time. It's okay.
I'm getting you. Yeah.
Take your time. That's all right.
But the aims and objectives of the Hugh Dwyer Inspirational Foundation is to support people, BME cancer sufferers and their families, provide an advocacy service with a holistic approach for service users, running awareness sessions with professional agencies, because I'm not qualified, and the co-directors Norma and Pauline are not qualified, so we get professionals in, so like Rose. I don't know if you've heard the Suresh Ramaban. He's a prostate cancer nurse, and he's worked with Orchid as well as PSA cancer communities. Sorry, PSA, prostate cancer, sorry, UK. Also, we're hoping to set up support groups within Warwickshire and the surrounding areas, but as yet we haven't been able to. And with the COVID, it's had a knock-on effect anyway. We network with other BME agencies and organisations and signpost people within the community to those agencies if we're not able to help. And we hold fundraising events to help provide service within the community, because and that's through the dinner and dance that we do annually, which we do in November, Men Awareness Month. And the money that's raised from that is going into the community to either help to put on coach trips or sessions, or just supporting the people within the community with materials that like information packs and everything else.
And where are you based, Cynthia?
I better say the royal bit, Royal Leamington Spa.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's your reach. But are you kind of
because
UK?
But we do Warwickshire, and surrounding areas, but we're more recognised nationally and regionally than locally.
Okay.
It's sort of like we've had to go out to come in.
Come in.
Due to issues within the African Caribbean community, you know, when projects fall apart, they're a bit reluctant to take on board, but they're starting to see that what we're doing now.
On this platform, can I ask, on this platform then, what sort of support? I mean, we've got 150 people on the platform. If someone's got like skills or particular, what sort of help do you need?
At the present, because there's 3 of us, and at the moment we can't do very much because of the COVID, what's going on. So it's mainly me dealing with phone calls, and advice and that. I'm also the chairwoman of the West Midlands African Caribbean Cancer Communities, which was again set up after I'd done an awareness event at the West Bromwich African Caribbean Centre. And again, because of COVID, we're not able to do much because it's face to face we deal with, you know. And I've had to be careful and not to screen myself.
Yes.
Due to it, you know. So at the moment, there's we look for volunteers for like when we're doing events and that, and awareness events. And as we get bigger, you know, then we'll need more people on board.
Right. Well, we're going to put a shout out now. You know, please get in touch with Cynthia if you can volunteer, if you can support. I mean, there's just three of them. Now, come on, community. We can support this fantastic woman. You're doing amazing work, Cynthia. Amazing.
Thank you.
And you are just, you know, like a typical mummy, you know, your typical Black family. You've got 4 children, typical Black family, and then bang, prostate cancer hits, and it turns the world upside down. I mean, I'm here, I'm trying to just hold it back, because I mean, I can feel the tears were coming. And normally I'm quite, you know, but this is real, people. Prostate cancer is real. I can see, Devon, I can see you got your hand up, but we normally take questions at the end. So hopefully you can hang on to the end.
Yeah. I intend to do that. But what I was going to say, Joe, is that what happened to Hugh, as I said, it's about challenging the professionals, because at the end of the day, And even if you get negative situation, thank God my doctors, when Hugh changed over to my GP, my doctor believed in what I was saying. And even when I asked for domiciliary care because I couldn't go back to work until the proper care was put into place, because I worked in Birmingham at the time, you know, he supported me. When I said to them that he couldn't come, Hugh couldn't come home, and I explained why, he says, Cynthia, I've got your back. I understand what you're saying. Hugh can't come home until things have been put in place, like the handrail, like, you know, other things that needed to be put in place. And that's why I say, Joan, because of my background and work experience, I was able to do that. But there's people who might not have done that because they wouldn't have had the experience about having an agency meeting, with a round table meeting with people there, you know. And it's so important, and this is another reason why every chance I get, I will be saying to people, challenge them, ask them why such and such is being done.
Exactly.
Because like otherwise, they can just railroad you, and it's about stopping that railroading.
We have to keep fighting. Cynthia, my darling, I'm going to move on to the next speaker, but your story, you know, what you've been through is a testimony. It's a testimony. And, you know, guests on the platform, this is a real Black woman. She lost her husband in 2009. You can't get any more real than this. You really can't. But out of that, you've got the phenomenal Hugh Dwyer Inspirational Foundation doing amazing work. And we commend you for that. And community, you're all here. Cynthia, please put the contact details into the chat. Yeah. So people are going to want to contact you. They're going to want to support you. Even us down in London, we're going to think of a way where we can do something to support the charity. So, you know, all of you who are charities on the platform, you know, we're going to be doing some amazing stuff. God bless you, my darling, and thank you. So hang around for the Q&A. We're going to go back to Dr. Rose Thompson. Are you ready now, Rose?
I am.
All right, you conquered the technical difficulty.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to do it the way that I normally do it in the community, with an orange and a satsuma and a straw.
Okay.
And a banana.
Okay.
I'd usually use a plum, but imagine this is your bladder. Yeah, we all have a bladder. Sitting directly underneath it is the prostate gland. Women do not have one. Let's just get that right. Women do not have a prostate gland. I was once challenged at an event because a gentleman said women have a prostate gland. But when we're an embryo, there's something that could develop into one, but it never does. Only a man has a prostate gland. So it's sitting there. And can you see the straw?
Yes.
That is going through it. That is the tube from the bladder. And it passes straight through the prostate gland. And when a man gets older, whoever he is, that gland swells, it gets bigger. And that's because that's an aging process. So, Chris, I just want to commend you on your story as well. And people like Errol, Alfred Samuels sends his apologies. He couldn't make it this morning. Your stories and Cynthia's story are really integral to our people knowing. And one of the things that I do know, we've had a lot of success with the men's event and the men come into it. And the women who came were the ones who informed their men. And one of them in our group, he was a bishop in the church. And he had been going for the well man test for 3 years. And his wife was a childhood friend of mine. And she went home and she said, I can say his name because he's our prostate cancer ambassador. Gary, you need to go and have your prostate gland checked because it's more common in Black men. And men need to be checked Black men need to be checked from the age of 40. Gary had a family history of prostate cancer and he told his GP. And yet he was not having the test done. I saw Gary shortly after I was diagnosed, and he was thin and he was limping and he looked very ill. And I said, you need to get yourself checked over. Thankfully, his stepmother was a nurse as well. When he went to get checked, he saw a different doctor, and his PSA level was 2,000. It should have been 4. And he'd already, because when it's so high, it's usually already spread. So he was shocked. But Gary is still here, and I think that's the message that I want to get over. The treatments that he had, bearing in mind that it was 2016 when he was diagnosed, he was stage 4, really. But the treatments that he had have brought it under control and brought his PSA level back below 4. So you can live, even if it is a late stage. You just have to get it diagnosed, and you have to get the help. One of the things that I found, the same as Chris, my mother did not tell us when she had breast cancer. This is 1976. I come from a faith community. She was praying for divine healing. And unfortunately, by the time I found out and I was training to be a radiographer, she passed within 6 months. And we don't want that to keep happening. That's why you're doing this, isn't it, Joan?
Absolutely.
So what happens with the prostate gland? It swells, and the PSA is a protein that the gland produces. I don't know if you can see, there's a groove down the orange. That's why I use a plum usually. There is a groove down the prostate gland front and back. And the only way that you can feel it is because the rectum, or the anus, basically where your poo collects. So I got a rotten banana just to demonstrate that. Sits behind it, immediately behind it there. So to examine it, the doctor has to put his finger up the back passage. Not as many doctors are doing that now, particularly if they know that the PSA level is high. And we also know that when it's biopsied, they take about a dozen samples. The MRI is better at spotting where the cancer is. So men are only go through all, and this is going to happen more. And I don't know if you've seen in the news that they're going to be trialing a urine test, self-test at home to send out to the men. Now, we would prefer this because these things pick up proteins, and proteins are kind of an indication of what's happening in the body. So things are changing. I think eventually the back passage examination, the biopsies will only happen for those men that they are sure have prostate cancer. They're talking about things like biomarkers now as well, which is, unique to the man. So as this swells on the outside, let me take the orange away. Just let's look at the prostate gland alone. It swells on the inside. So you imagine if you squeeze that tube on the inside, you're not going to get much pee coming through it. But the other thing that can happen as well is something that isn't spoken about much. And one of the women who came to me, she came to me first because she thought it was her second relationship. She'd had an abusive relationship and she'd found the love of her life. And then things were not happening in the bedroom. So she thought he'd gone off her. But one of the men who spoke at one of the events I had in London, he said to the audience, well, my first symptom was erectile dysfunction. And people don't often know that it means they can't get it up, basically. So, but the main problem will be that they can't pee well. They may stop and start, they may feel like they want to go, and then they can't go. One of the men said to me he used to go to the pub and have a drink, and he stopped in the end because he spent the whole time in the toilet trying to go. So that's another sign, particularly women, because your men, if they're getting up more than twice a night to go to the toilet, they need to see the doctor. And one of the issues we've had in the UK is that GPs, because they are used to dealing with white British men who have, they're over the age of 65, the heart problems are more severe. So they can live with non-aggressive prostate cancer for quite a long time, but even that I'm challenging now because there's more family history. Once that happens, you should have the PSA blood test. And some GPs were turning down the men from having this. We've kind of stopped that in Nottingham now, but I know there's still a lot of cities where they're turning it down. And it's not an indication of prostate cancer on its own. It just tells you, usually if it's above 4 or getting close to that, that there's an abnormality with the gland. Men in their 30s are more likely to have an infection. Just because you have abnormality does not mean that you've got prostate cancer. There's something called prostatitis, where it swells and it can be quite painful. Most men in their 30s, that's what it is. But in America now, wherever you see the track from Africa through to the Caribbean, to the USA, to us, you see prostate cancer increased in Black men. And, you know, that has never really been fully studied in my estimate, and that's what we're trying to do now. So when they can't pee, that is a real indication. Some men will say, like, if you were to hit a target with the pee, the force isn't as much, but they definitely notice that, and it's the most common sign that we have. If they, some men, you know, they can't control it and they have to wear pads as well. But having to rush to the nearest toilet and map out the toilets is a sign. And women, you should know that when you're out with them as well. So get them there. The other symptoms are less common: pain when peeing, pain when ejaculating, pain in the testicles, stinging sensation when peeing, because that could be an infection, because it's like stagnant water. If standing water is standing there, it will get infected. And some of the men don't come until they've got kidney problems, because the tubes from the kidney go up either side of the bladder to the kidneys. And if the water in the bladder is infected, it will go up to the kidneys and cause back pain. And first, it will cause a urine infection, which in older people can cause confusion. And some older people, we've had to say they haven't got dementia, they've got an infection. So it's really important that we know that. When it's gone on a bit more like Gary, he had a new abnormal persistent pain in the lower back. Now, many of us have back pain because of the jobs that we've done, particularly if you've been in things that you lift and whatever. Women, you know, getting babies out of cars and lifting, shopping and whatever. So most of us will have some kind of damage to the back. But when it's persistent and it's getting worse, because that happened to me when the prostate cancer spread to my upper, I haven't got prostate cancer, when the breast cancer spread to my upper spine. But I spotted it, 1 dose of radiotherapy, and I've gone on to immunotherapy. And 6 years later, I'm still here, even though I'm now classed as stage 4 breast cancer. Never, you know, don't let the cancer define you. You will hear a lot of negative stuff when you go to the hospital. And one of the things I'm trying to do is to get health professionals to kind of break bad news better and talk about what's there to support it. And even things like when people are going through chemotherapy, you know, what you can use to actually get you through it. And that's how our women are coping as well. And one of the great things that has happened up here, because we spotted COVID and cancer early and advised our people, we didn't lose any of them to COVID. And we've only lost 2 men who weren't at the beginning, who had already become late stage, to prostate cancer. And we have over 40 men, and that's since 2012 when we formed the group. So the lower back pain and persistent, like the pain that I got in my, I didn't even get it in my back. I got it kind of referred pain across my shoulder and down to my side. I couldn't sit up in bed. And I didn't know that my consultant had retired. So it took me 6 weeks to be treated. But you need to be treated as soon as possible. And I know lots of people are saying, you know, you can do it yourself with diet. In my experience, I mean, just before the pandemic started, we lost a 43-year-old who had had breast cancer and turned down treatment. It was early stage breast cancer. She could have lived for years and years and years. Because, you know, and I support people who want to do it that way, as long as they've had the information. But sadly, by the time she came back to us, it was one of the worst cases I'd seen since training. And this is happening more. People are turning down treatment in favor of doing it on their own. We're here to support you. I'm just as much as a traditionalist as anybody else. At the moment, I'm using acupuncture to bring down the swelling in my arm, and I've got it practically down to the same as it was. You can see one hand is bigger than the other. Using acupuncture and reflexology, I use tea tree a lot. It killed MRSA in Australia. And when people are having infectious problems, I recommend tea tree drops, tea tree wipes. The only problem is I recommend all these things and then they get sold out and I can't get them anymore. So, but I do recommend them for that. So when the women were men are now having a treatment called docetaxel if they have late stage prostate cancer, which was used for the women. And actually my twin sister trialed it and it got rid of all the cancer except a spot in her liver, which nowadays could be taken out, but that was troublesome. She lived for 11.5 years and it kept coming back. But that is now being used for prostate cancer and it can cause your nails to go dark. And if you don't keep the bed of your nails clean, the nail bed can lift and some people have lost their nails. So I just put my nails in tea tree. And I told a woman who was having problems about it, a white British woman who'd been having problems for months. And she stopped the meeting I was in last time. She said, "Thank you, Rose." She says, "I've been having problems with this for the whole time, months and months, misery making. And I sent my husband out to get tea tree wires and it stopped." And her whole persona had changed. That's what I'm interested in, action. So blood in the urine or semen is not common, but sometimes some men do get that. But I think the most important thing is anything, whether it's cancer or not, that is persistent, you do need to get help. And you do need to not just speak to a GP on the telephone, you need to speak to them face to face. We've just lost a woman who was a carer of one of our support group members, an African woman, to breast cancer because she couldn't see her GP. But also, she was offered the chance to have a mammogram. But I call it the busy women syndrome, and I do this myself as well, so I know. You might get your bowel cancer screen test, which comes at 60, and it's just like you have to do a sample of poo, and you just have to get one sample of it now, put it in an envelope, send it back. Some people are throwing it away because they don't know what it is. It comes in an orange envelope. Bowel cancer is now, African Americans now have the most increased risk in America of any ethnic group, and we always follow. Lost a dear friend to it, but she's under the age of 60, so she hadn't had that kit. But I've had calls from people who, have had it and didn't do it, and actually they end up with very late stage bowel cancer. We lose them. So whatever is out there to help us, we must do it. And the only thing we have at the moment for the men is that PSA and the DRE, and we're fighting to get that to be a part of Black men's well-being check. And if you have a family history, like we do, it's not helpful because sometimes you go places, and particularly because I come from a faith community, it's not helpful to say to someone who is really struggling with that, and the whole family is struggling with that, that you need to get rid of the curse, which has been said to me in churches 3 times. It's not helpful because it is actually, and I spoke to Joan about this, she didn't know this. I'm doing some work at the moment on what you call biomarkers. And what they try to do is identify, there are 3 genes that were identified. And don't think I'm fighting against this thing of, because people have may have identified genes, it's not common. Every time I ask people, how common do you think family history is? They say about 50% of women who have breast cancer or prostate cancer. It's not common. Only about 5 to 8%, 5 to 8 out of 100 people who have breast cancer will have family history. So and I've seen it less in the Black community because we're younger. That's why we didn't have it. Cancer increases with age, but actually now that we are older, the people we're losing the most, and begging you, please look out for our elders. Prostate cancer is a global thing, and Africa really doesn't have the resources that we have. The Caribbean, some people have to travel to Jamaica to actually get their treatment, or Barbados, because there is no radiotherapy department there. My last sister was not offered radiotherapy, and I've never really seen radiotherapy return in the same breast cancer return in the same breast after radiotherapy. She lived in a rural area, so that's what caused hers to spread. It recurred in the same breast, and it did that. But actually, I spoke to the Nigerian radiographers, because there is a type of breast cancer, and we've recognized BRCA1, BRCA2, and BRCA3. Breast cancer 1, BRCA2, BRCA3. People who say there are no genes, they're talking nonsense. We see them. And what it has been interesting in the last couple of years is that we've been looking at something called the 100,000 Genomes Project, looking at the DNA of cancer and rare disease. And what we've found is that the same gene that causes breast cancer and ovarian cancer causes prostate cancer. And where we thought that the breast cancer family history just came down through the female side, we now understand that because we get 50% of our genes from our father and 50% from our mother, that it could be coming from the prostate cancer side as well. So anybody who has a family history, that means you've got somebody under 40 who was diagnosed with cancer, you've got more than one family member on the same side of the family, or you've got even more than that, like in my family, 5 family members. You also need to be talking to your daughters about breast cancer as well, and making sure that they do get themselves checked. And 9 out of every 10 lumps are not going to be cancer. And I'm on the National Advisory Committee for Breast Cancer Screening. I advise about, black groups and whatever. We've seen something happening where black women, particularly Nigerian women, are getting a non-hormonal kind of breast cancer, about 15%. And they are all under the age of the menopause usually, or their mothers have had it. And we're beginning to see this in Caribbeans now. It's harder to treat because there aren't as many treatments for it, because everybody goes for the most common one. But we can control breast cancer with, reducing hormones, because 80% are. We can control prostate cancer with that. But with that comes side effects, doesn't it, Errol? Usually, I used to run a drop-in center. That's how I kind of learned this, because one of the men came in and he was complaining about hot flushes, because anytime you drop the hormone level down, like with the menopause, your body, your brain, actually, the temperature control goes. But one of the ways that you can check that it's not a fever, because sometimes you feel like you've got a fever, is to get your thermometer out. And I advise everybody to get themselves a thermometer if they haven't. If it is persistently above 37.5, 38 in a healthy person, then you need to report it, because it's probably an infection. But you can feel like you're on fire with and I think a lot of you will identify with menopause. Yet when you take your temperature, it's going to be around 36 normal. That's how you can check it's a menopause or hot flush. And there is a blood test that you can check if you are going into the menopause. For women, their periods will become erratic, and you can have a blood test to see if it's happening. Mine happened around 45, but because I'm on hormonal depleting drugs as well, my menopause has not stopped, because my body is still being fooled. But I use all sorts of things. I've got a gel pad that I put on my pillow and whatever. And I advise this for the men as well. I'm going to finish now, Joan, because I do masterclasses on breast cancer and bring in the international stuff. But this is something for everyone that I'm going to show you. Sorry, I'm in my bedroom. This is called a gel pad.
All right.
It feels cool to the touch. You can put it in the fridge if you like. I've never really had to put mine in the fridge, but I sleep with it under my pillow. And as soon as I feel, and you can get them for your whole body. This was only £3 something.
All right.
I don't usually advertise, but I got this on Groupon, and I got some for the women. And when you lay on it, your head is instantly cooled. I used to switch the fan on and off. I got one for my daughter because she's up in the attic and it's like a furnace up there. So she has a whole body one. This is really helpful. You know, just putting a wet flannel on your forehead will cool your brain down and make it behave itself a bit more. So I've got lots of tips like that. That's what we do. But thank you for having me. And whatever you do, if there is a problem, do not take just telephone calls. My GP has actually gone into our local newspaper to ask GPs to open their doors because of 30% of cancer referral are not happening now. We've gone down by 30%. And our oncology services are seeing more advance, but we're also getting more women who are turning down treatment for breast cancer. We don't want that to happen with the men. Prostate cancer is one of those that the EPIC European study actually said it's not just about diet. So you cannot just treat it with diet. You've got to reduce the hormonal level, and you've also got to check if it's inside the gland or if it's gone outside, if it's gone to another area. You can only do that by actually getting into conventional things. And I'm always calling out health professionals and statutory bodies and whatever, but you do need a combination of both of them. And I'm a cancer expert, but I can tell you something. I would like to see more of our people donating to people like Cynthia and Joan and Errol and ourselves. The Black Pound can do a lot better because, as Joan said, she hadn't heard of me. She should have heard of me. The other charities should have been telling even that, you know, their ambassadors and their celebrities. I met another one, a celebrity who had no idea of what I'd done, yet it was massive news. The British Association of Urology Nurses put it in their newsletter. I did radio shows. I do a radio show myself, and I did TV and everything. It was national news, and it's a national campaign. And when I couldn't do it, it should have carried on in London, but it didn't. So we're picking that up again. It's called Hear Me Now. And when we said it in the House of Commons, we taught everybody to say it in Caribbean. You know, when the reggae artists are singing, and then they'll stop and say, hear me now, kind of thing. Listen to me. We're calling all our reports that. So we're going to carry that on, and and the breast cancer report will be a continuation of that as well. But thank you to Errol and Cynthia and Joan and Alfred and everybody who has got in contact with me, because I had to take time out for my own personal health when the cancer came back, but got over that as well. So I'm teaching people not just how to raise awareness, but how to live their best life. You don't have to lay down and die. And I'm going to be honest, when you're first diagnosed, that's what comes to mind. You know, and I do work with a lot of faith groups, and it's working. You know, our men, we haven't had a funeral every week like we used to. Our men have started riding bikes. That's why I say exercise is really important. COVID is not so much about a virus, it's about our immune system. Our men, one man started riding a bike, and he had some white British friends he was raising funds with. And I said to him, some of our men ride bikes. You know, some of them ride bikes so they can't afford to get around without riding bikes. Let's get them joining in. Now the whole group goes bike riding. They've even got some of the women going bike riding. They've raised funds from that. I say, when you get together in your support groups, have a little petty cash thing. And, you know, not everybody has to donate to it, but if you can't get funding for your Christmas meal, then drop £1 in it each time, and then you'll have enough. It's those practical things. But I would really like to see the Black Pound supporting us now, because I've done this voluntarily for years, and that was one of the reasons my husband and I plan to retire this week, because our families have gone without, you know, not been able to fix up your house and all sorts, because you put all your money into it as directors' loans, and then you can't pull it out. So I'd really like to see that. And Joan, thank you so much. You're a real community champion. And thank you to all the queens, wherever you are. And I hope we can meet again. Thank you.
Rose, powerful testimony. And, guests on the platform, and that's when I spoke to you in the week, I couldn't believe you were out there trailblazing, tearing up, challenging, asking questions, fighting for us. Yeah, fighting for each and every Black person that's got prostate cancer, breast cancer, whatever condition it is. But you yourself, you're out there fighting for us and we as a community. And I say all the time, right now, it's not about I, it's about we. And we have to come together. And, I'm a woman who's out there. People who know me personally, I'm always out there doing things. I run the walking group. We've now got walking groups all over the UK. That's how this thing has just blown up. And you're right, exercise, it's diet, it's sleep, it's a holistic approach when it comes to trying to, get to optimum health.
And what people like Cynthia need as well, Joan, and there's lots of funding out there now.
Yeah.
And those who know how to get it.
Yeah.
And then they come to us to do it for free. Cynthia's nodding her head. Yes. I've called out the universities about that. I've called out the charities. Stop it. This is another form of slavery. If you have funding and if you're going to go for a funding bid, you go and talk to the group that you're going to be working with and you get their costs first and you include them in that bid. You don't get it, then you can't engage with the Black community. Then you expect cash-strapped voluntary sector Black organisations to do the work for you and give them nothing for it.
Yeah.
So
conversation on this platform, because we were in a meeting this week, and we came away with the same conclusion. They wanted in a way up into the Black community, all for free.
Yes.
How can we do? I mean, what we do now on the platform, we are giving back because we want to empower our community. We want the connectivity. Because like I say, together we are stronger. We can't do it, now we're over 150 people on this, guests on the platform. We know about your organization. Please put all the details into the chat. And I myself, they call me Joan, Queen of Queens. We are going to be
Yeah.
we are
you shouldn't be doing this and making your family go without. So that's what we did and what Cynthia did. And that's why my husband is our chief operating officer and he does the IT stuff and whatever. And I'm very blessed with that because I couldn't do all that. We need but what we really need is fundraising managers who just get on with the bits and then we just deliver them. And we've initiated. One of the women who came to House of Commons, her father had just died from prostate cancer. He was elderly. She used to work for another Black organisation, but she was made redundant. So she asked if I could start BME cancer communities in Manchester. And Manchester has really suffered in not having funding and Birmingham as well, the West Midlands.
We need it all over. Black people are everywhere in the UK. We are everywhere. So we need this network to just be pan-UK. We need
to grow. But Marcella did start Can Survive UK. Look at their website as well. She's basically modeled it on ours. I'm a trustee for her, and she is very good at writing bids and things. But she's having to do that while she's also having to run this organisation. She's got 2 support groups in Manchester now. We connect with Cancer Black Care, nearly went out of business. Those of you in London will know. They were, Frank says, and he's the chair, they were that close to closing their doors because the CCG pulled funding. We cannot rely on the clinical commissioning groups and statutory bodies to fund us because when they tick the box, the funding goes. Or if they're in problems, the funding goes. We need our community to support us.
Absolutely. Rose, thank you very, very much for being on the platform this morning. You've given a whole new kind of perspective. So it's really good seeing a demonstration with the orange and the apple and things for us to understand. So thank you very much for...
It's usually a plum because it's got a groove down the back. Because when the doctor feels it, he's feeling to see if you can feel that groove.
Oh, right. Okay.
Up the back passage, he's feeling the groove. If the groove is gone, it means it's swollen. Right. Now that could be because of age,
Yeah.
and it can get very big. With some of our men, it's got so big it's pushed up into the bladder,
Wow.
and they have to have 2 operations to take it out.
Mm.
And that's younger men as well.
Mm.
But it usually just swells and that groove goes, and then they know that something is happening with it. Not usually just age. They can just, and if that squeezes the tube, my father didn't have prostate cancer, but he couldn't pee. What they did, they took him in and they did an operation that just shaved a bit of the inside off so that the tube wasn't trapped, and he was fine. But he'd already sent for something on the internet that he didn't even know what it was, because it said it cured prostate cancer. He hadn't even got prostate cancer.
Oh.
So, you know, be careful about what you send for. You don't know what's in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Green tea does help.
Right.
Drinking green tea. Cooked tomatoes does help. We know that both the lycopene in cooked tomatoes and the green tea in the lab, you put it with prostate cancer cells and it inhibits the growth. It slows down the growth. But there's a lot more work to be done on that.
Okay. Lyndon Westard is on the platform. Hi, Lyndon. Thank you very much for posting into the chat foods that are good for prostate cancer. That's really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. So he's got in here like cooked tomatoes, flaxseed, pimento, broccoli, turmeric, pumpkin seeds, green tea, wild salmon, Brazil nuts, walnuts, berries, cayenne pepper, ginger, sweet potato, cloves, allspice, cinnamon, red kidney beans, black eyed peas, sardines, spinach, mushrooms, peaches, apple seeds, sea moss. All these foods and foods to avoid: red meat and processed meat and dairy.
Processed foods. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Thank you, Lyndon. And notice he's put one has got cyanide in. We think sometimes in some countries where there's a lower rate, cyanide actually will inhibit cells, but if it's a poison, a lot of the things that kill cancer, they're poisons, and if you have too much of it, you're poisoning yourself. So
you have to be careful.
I'm encouraging our younger people and some of the people who are interested in this to qualify as medical herbalists. There are people who study medicine and plants, and it's a 3-year course, medical herbalists, and I'd like to see them in every hospital, so that when you go to the doctor and say, well, can I take this? We saw that evening primrose oil, for a start, boosted treatments for breast cancer, for certain types of cancer, not all. You need to know not only what it is, but how much dose to give. It's like we need more vitamin D than somebody who is white. You know, our melanin is blocking the sun. And where is the sun? I don't know about in London, but here, there ain't no sun here, apart from grey sky.
No sun.
And the further north you get, the northern hemisphere has more, less sun and more vitamin D deficiency. But it is now linked to MS, multiple sclerosis, and we're seeing more Black people being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. One of my volunteers and her sister were diagnosed. So we must take vitamin D supplements, definitely. D3 is the best. I have to take it with calcium. But, you know, things have changed, and we just, because we've been in this country for a while, and we need to be aware.
Thank you very, very
So
much.
thank you, Lyndon, for that.
Somebody was asking, can you use tea tree with even if you haven't got cancer? I mean, I use tree.
Oh yeah, I used it all the time
tree.
before.
Yeah, and
when MRSA started coming out, it was over 30 years ago.
Yeah,
and we didn't have such a problem with it in the hospitals before. And I noted that it got worse after our mothers and grandmothers stopped cleaning the hospitals and retired and moved to other countries because they couldn't progress in this country. Both my aunts were nurses, and when they qualified, Black nurses were not allowed to be anything but state enrolled. They couldn't be state registered, so they went to America and Canada. But when our women were not there, you know what most Black women are like. You know, Saturday was cleaning day, and the floor had to be spotless, and you could eat off the floor. But what happened? It coincided with the hospital giving the cleaning contracts outside of the hospitals. And I know that the nurses in the kidney unit, for example, and about 30% of the cancer people in kidney units are uncontrolled diabetes. So you have a lot of Black people there and a lot of Asian people there as well. Plus, there's something called, I'll go into that another time. But anyway, something that actually makes us more sensitive to it.
Yes.
But they used to have to swab their noses to see if MRSA was active.
Oh,
And I'm going to be having, because they can't get my blood at the moment. It took 6 attempts and 2 hours last week. So I'm going to have a thing put in my chest to make it easier. And I have to swab my nose and clean my nose and for 5 days, and then use something to wash my whole body so that that doesn't get infected. Now, our elders did that normally. I saw the rise in MRSA, and whenever you had somebody come into radiotherapy with MRSA, you used to have to swab down the bed, gown up, put your mask up, put your gloves on, and then when the patient had gone, you had to do the same again, and you would be notified. In the end, it was so rampant, they said, don't bother, everybody's got it. And it lives up our nose, and it's, you know, something that is passed on from human to human, and yet it was causing wounds not to heal. They called it the flesh-eating bacteria. And I remember I was working at Cancer Backup at the time. That was started by a Chinese woman. And I was reviewing some of the research, and I read that the Australians were using tea tree, which grows there, in sprays and things for the hospital, and it was killing MRSA. So much as I don't read the Daily Mail very often because it can be such a racist paper, their health stuff is very good, and they've actually covered it last week.
all right.
Tea tree is anti-inflammatory. It can kill bacteria. It can kill viruses. So it's in my cupboard all the time.
Yes, I have it as well.
So
We'll quickly move on. Thank you very much. We're going to have a Q&A at the end. I'm just conscious of the time. So somebody
yeah,
was,
all right, thanks.
but thank you very much for that, Rose. So somebody was asking because they've missed the beginning of the session. So this is being recorded, this session, for upload, and it's been live streamed through Facebook. It's been live streamed through YouTube, so you can always go back and watch the recordings. Yeah, so it's there for posterity. So we're going to be moving on to the wonderful, the king is always, every time, you know, our backup Errol is on this mission. We have got Errol McKellar, MBE, founder of the Errol McKellar Foundation and prostate cancer survivor. So Errol, are you there with us? I can tell you a little bit about his story. Errol's journey with prostate cancer started at the end of 2010, when his wife was complaining about his snoring and how it was difficult for her to get a good night's sleep. So Errol suggested that she make an appointment, as they do. It's always the wife who's in charge, isn't it? The partner's who's in charge. So she made the appointment at the doctor, and the rest is history. The rest is history. So Errol, are you there? I'm going to let you tell your story. Can you come off mute?
Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're there. Thinking, you're talking to myself.
Oh, no, don't worry. Thank you, Joan. Thank you. Do you know what? I just before I tell my story, I just want to say thank you to you, Rose, because you know you've been an inspiration for all of us without even realizing that you gave us the platform to go out and do what we're doing. You know, people like myself, Chris, you know, even Lyndon, the diabetic man, right? You know, you've given us that inspiration. So Rose, thank you. Right. You know, it's not been forgotten, you know, especially when we were first introduced as well. And listen, this campaign is about all of us. And for Cynthia, I just wanted to say, Cynthia, listen, proud of what you've just come up and said. You know what? You women are all our inspirations. You're all our carers. Right. When prostate cancer affects us, it doesn't just affect us as men. Right. And I'm going to tell you the story of what happened to me as Joan started the story. And that's why, you know, our queens are very, very important in this journey. You know, listen, my wife was complaining about my snoring to the point, right, that it was becoming a serious problem. And she said, look, you know, you need to do something about this. So I said to her, make the appointment, and she made the appointment. I sat down in the reception room at the doctor's, picked up a leaflet, read the leaflet. I thought, let me go and make an appointment to come back and do this test. When I got to the reception, the young lady said, "Mr. McKellar, this you don't need an appointment. This is a simple blood test and that takes less than 10 minutes." Well, you know what? Little did I realize that was going to change the rest of my life. Had the blood test, sat down, waited to see the doctor about the snoring. When I got home in the evening, my wife was cooking dinner, and I just said to her randomly, I said, "Guess what, Shah? While I was waiting to see the doctor about the snoring, I did a blood test for prostate cancer." Well, she stopped cooking immediately, and she looked at me and she said, "What's that got to do? Right? What's that got to do with your snoring?" Anyway, obviously the answer that I gave her must have been a good one because I got my dinner that night, right? But to move the story on, right, they called me back to do a second blood test. After the second blood test, they called me in to do a biopsy. And I've got to tell you this story quickly about the biopsy, right? When they called me the doctor called me, he said, "Mr. McKellar, we've booked you in to have a biopsy." So I said, "When do you want to do that?" And he said, "Today, this morning." So I said, "Okay." I put the phone down and I rang my wife straight away because anything to do with illness and medical stuff, I tell you now, all men will ring or speak to their wife about it. So I spoke to my wife. I said to her, they want me to, the doctors called me, they want me to go to the hospital to do a biopsy. So she said, "When do they want you to do that?" I said, "Well, they want me to do that today, this morning." So she said, "Okay, don't worry. Don't drive, just get a cab, and I'll meet you at the hospital." So went to the hospital. Just before I put the phone down though, right, I did turn to her and I said to her, "By the way, what's a biopsy?" and she replied, "Don't worry, it's nothing to worry about. It's a simple routine thing that we women have to go through." Anyway, to be honest, I'm glad she didn't tell me what it was because, as Rosa said, it's not the nicest thing. It's not, and Cynthia's alluded to that as well. It's not a comfortable thing either, but it's something that men have to have when they've got this problem. Anyway, a week after that, they called me in to have a scan. I had the scan. And then a week after that scan, they called me and my wife in and they said, "Mr. McKellar, I have to tell you, your prostate is covered in cancer." Well, listen, I got up and I walked out of the room because, as far as I was concerned, he wasn't talking to me. But when I came out of the building and I went and I sat in my car, I don't know whether I was scared, frightened, or both, right? I just burst into tears and I was incontrollable. I just didn't know what I could do next. And this is why our queens are very, very important. This is why they are always going to be inspirational in our life. My wife came, she sat in the car, she turned to me, she said, "Listen," she said, "all these years that I've been with you, I've never seen you quit on anything that you've ever done." And I had to stop crying. I had to man up and I had to look at her hard. And I thought, is she having a go at me or is this her way of inspiring me to get up and do something? So I took the latter. That's what she was doing. So me and Sharon, we went back in the room. And I said, "Doctor, what do I need to do to deal with this problem?" He said, "Look, Mr. McKellar, if we don't remove your prostate, you could be dead in 6 months." And I said, "Okay, well, let's do it then." He said, "Look, there will be some issues you'll have to deal with. There'll be some side effects you have to come to terms with." I said, "Doctor, if I have a chance of staying alive, I'll take that." So I had the operation. There were still traces of cancer in me. So I had to have nearly 3 months of radiotherapy. And that was tough. And that was really, really brutal and difficult to deal with. But, while I was going through that, I kept turning around to Sharon and saying, "Sharon, listen, I need to find some way of doing something about this illness because I think that thanks to God that I'm still here, and I have to give thanks to God for that because to have my prostate covered in cancer and still be here talking to you wonderful people today is a blessing." And, my wife turned to me and she gave me the most inspirational speech that I could ever have asked for. She said, "Listen, this cancer only knocked you down, it ain't knocked you out. So you're going to go 12 rounds with this cancer, but what you're going to do, you'll take everybody with you and give yourself a chance of beating it." So I took that as my inspiration, and I was out of work for 6 months. I went back to work, and for those who may not have heard my story, right, I used to run a garage in London doing car servicing, repairs and MOTs. And a guy came in my garage, right, the same day I came back in work, and we was talking, he was just saying how pleased he was to see me back and so forth. And to this day, I don't even know where the inspiration came from to say what I said to him. I just turned to him and I said, you know what? I said, when was the last time you had your prostate checked? And then the pleasant conversation stopped, and the man looked at me hard, and he said to me, what the bleep, bleep, bleep has that got to do with the gearbox of my car not working? And you know what, I looked at him and I said, listen, I tell you what, I'm going to give you 20% discount on the work I'm going to do on your car if you go and get your prostate checked. Well, 2 weeks later, when he came to pick up his car, he was waving this piece of paper in his hand. He said, yeah, you know what? He said, I took your advice and I did that test. And I looked up to the sky and I looked at him and I said, you know what? This has just cost me 200 quid. And he must have registered the look on my face, right? Because he turned around to me and said, listen, don't worry about the money. And I have to tell you, I was relieved when he said that, right? He said, but I think you better read this letter. And when I opened the letter and read the letter, he had 25% cancer in his prostate, right? And he turned to me and he said to me, listen, you need to donate this money to charity. But he said, more importantly, you need to start raising the awareness of this issue, because I would never have gone and done anything about it had you not have said it. And he was the first of 48 guys that walked into my garage that was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And, the frightening thing about it is 28 of those guys were Afro-Caribbean men. And 2 of them are no longer here. One was 42 years of age when he came in and was found, took the discount and went to get himself checked. He only lasted 10 months from the day he found out. The other guy was 36 years of age, right? And for me, this brother died of ignorance, because when I asked him about his prostate issues, he looked at me and he said, I can't go through all of that issue, right? My 2 brothers have had it, my dad has had it, and my uncle has had it. I had to ask him to repeat what he said, because up to this day, I'm still shocked to think I had to ask him 3 times to say it to me before it registered to me how crazy this is. 6 months he lasted after that. And, at the beginning of this seminar, we spoke about the stats and the numbers. And, people like Rose is doing a fantastic job. And Professor Frank also, who, has now come on board with us to help us to drive this message out there, because we can't keep looking at these numbers and saying, over 47,000 men are diagnosed. Over 11,000 men will die. 1 in 12 Asian men, right? 1 in 8 European men. 1 in 4 Afro-Caribbean men, right? 1 man dying every 45 minutes is not good enough. And, the reason why I'm taking this matter even as far as it can go now is because last year, during the COVID issues, I lost 15 men to prostate cancer, 10 of them Afro-Caribbean men, right? And I'm going to tell you, right, of those 10 guys, 8 of those guys refused to go to their doctors, refused to go to hospital, right? Because they don't think they're going to come out. That numbers are not good enough. So I sat down with my wife again and I said, look, you know what? I'm struggling with this, right? Because, okay, we can do these Zoom meetings and they're fantastic and wonderful. But like Rose said, you have to go face to face. Like Cynthia said, you have to go face to face with these medical people, because, you can't be not going to the doctor. And when you are urged to go to the doctor's looking at you or looking at Chris and looking at all the other men that's on the platform here and saying, brothers, you guys don't need to be here. We do need to be there. We have a right to be there, right? The doctor have a care of duty that they are supposed to be applying, right? And you know what? We have to, and as Joan said, right, we have to be man and strong about it. So what one of the reasons why I started the Errol McKellar Foundation, and Rose will tell you, is because, as an organization, we need to not just have a voice, we need to know where the monies are going, right, to help particularly our people in the community, because every day they will tell you we're the high risk, right? So at the Errol McKellar Foundation, we decided we are going to go out there and get a mobile testing vehicle, and we will take it around the country. So Cynthia, you're not alone. Rose will tell you, listen, there's a lot of us out there, and you're right. We can't just be helping people when they call us. We have to be helping people before they call us, right? So we are saying to people, look, you now have a charity. You have a foundation. Like the Rose and like Cynthia, we are organizations. There's black organizations out there, and I'm going to give it to you real now, right? People, we need to start supporting, and we need not just donating money, we need to donate ideas, because that's how you're going to change and make a difference. And that's what the Errol McKellar Foundation is trying to do. I couldn't do what I do without the strength of people like Chris, the people like Joan, people like Cynthia, Rose, Dr. Frank, right, Chenigwando, and anyone who doesn't know about this man. Rose will tell you he is the go-to man in this country, right, for prostate cancer, right? He advises the government, he advises the NHS, right? He is our consultant in this foundation to help us make a difference. Please, everybody, please, 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 come on board with us. Let's all show that we're going to do something about prostate cancer, because this is a problem that's not going to go away, right? When a man turns around and tells you that, listen, they're not going to go to their doctors, it's a serious problem, and listen, follow the guidelines of what's happening in Rose's community, right? The Friends and Brethren, right? The Friends and Brethren, what a fantastic organization, right, of brothers. I speak to these guys at least once a month on a regular basis, and we need to have that right round the country. Right round the country. And Cynthia, listen, just pick up the phone. Pick up the phone, as Rose has told you, right? We should all have known about what Rose has done, They gave me an MBE. It wasn't me they gave it to. They gave it to all of us. Everyone that's on this platform, they gave that MBE to all of us. One man don't save a million lives, Rose will tell you the fantastic Alfred Samuels, right? Big campaigner for prostate cancer. So we got some big leaders out there, Chris, listen, I'm proud of this young man, because we had a conversation about prostate cancer. Not only did he do something about it, he is actively doing something about it. And all of the brothers out there who I've not mentioned, thank you, because without all of your strength and wisdom, right, and to listen to our queens, we would not be able to have this voice to sit here and talk about what we're talking about now. It's going to be all of us that's going to make a change, right? Rose will tell you, not me, not she, not Cynthia, not Joan, all of us that's going to make a change. And that's what we got to do. Please, please, guys, follow the Errol McKellar Foundation, because we're not ramping now. We are going to knock down some doors, right? We are going to knock down, if they want to lock the doors, we are going to knock down those doors and go. And we are saying to people, don't just come on board and donate. Come on board and donate ideas as well, because that's how we're going to make a big difference. And I know we're limited for time, Joan, so I want to hear what people have got to say, because I think it's important to hear their voices as well. So let's go into the Q&A.
Thank you so much for that, Errol. And you just kept it real, my king. You just kept it real. We as queens,
yes,
we need to be, and it's not about you're nagging or you're having a go. We love our kings. We want them to live best life.
Listen, the nagging is why I'm sitting here. My wife nagged me about snoring. If she didn't, I would not be sitting here. So brothers, I know it's something going to hurt you men, but our women they're only nagging because they care. They care more about us than the life insurance. Come on, guys, get real.
We love them, so we want them to to live and have that go into old age. Our black men are dying unnecessarily. You and Chris are testament. You've had prostate cancer and you're living.
And let's not forget brother Yui as well, Cynthia. You know what? He may be gone, but he is our reason for campaigning to make a difference, right? And we want to dedicate what we are all trying to do, right? Because we all know somebody who is going through prostate cancer, knows somebody going through it, or lost somebody through it, right? All those people that we have lost, right? We have to do this in honor of them.
Honor of them, absolutely.
Right.
100%.
Rose, keep up the good work, because you know what? Every time I hear you speak, I know how passionate you've been, in getting this message across. And it's important that, for us, right, as I said, Rose will tell you, I'm an ambassador for a charity that has persistently asked people like me and Rose to do things, right, when the ship is sinking. We don't be asked to do things when the ship is sinking, right? Rose and myself have spoken at length about this, and look at the blueprint of what they're doing in Nottingham, and that has got to run around the country. We want to get this mobile testing vehicle, right? The technology is fantastic now, absolutely fantastic. You can get an answer for your PSA within 35 minutes. That's how brilliant. So the mobile vehicle will be one and hopefully of many, but we are going to get one and it's going to go around the country and we are going to test all the men, right? Our aim is to test all the men, but we need everybody's support, right?
Well, I mean, you've put it out there, I don't know what the population of Black people is in this country, but there's enough of us.
Yeah. Well, listen, the Errol McKellar Foundation, Joan, right? Listen, go online. Any messages, info@errolmckellar.com, right? Right.
But contact details into the chat as well. Yeah. I'm gonna run into the Q&A. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask the guests on the platform, if you could please raise your hand, and also please have your camera on, because the session is being recorded and we don't like talking to a black screen. We like to know who we're talking to. And just a quick heads up to let people know that this session, because we've had people coming in all the time, just to let you know, the session is being recorded. It's being live streamed through YouTube. It's also being live streamed through Facebook. Yeah. If you want to hear about Future Queens walking group events, please follow us on Eventbrite. If you go onto the YouTube, we've got past recordings of a lot of the sessions that we've done. So please like, subscribe, share, comment on the YouTube. And yes, has anybody got any questions? You could put your hand up in the chat. Right. Okay. Welcome to the platform, Lorraine. I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly. Is that Lorraine?
It's Langway.
Lorraine, my apologies.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Thank you so much for, I think, our private message to Rose and Cynthia. I am a breast cancer survivor myself, and like Rosie was stage 3, but I didn't even know what was happening to me. And I'm still on the journey. So I won't go into my story right now, but I just want to thank you so much for raising awareness. It's something I started doing when I realized I got diagnosed, and I realized a lot of people were so quiet about it. We don't want to talk about it. It's like a taboo. But what I found out, and it's something I'm talking about, the carers like Cynthia. So I have a podcast where I'm talking to carers, because carers get affected as well. Even though the people that is going through cancer, but the mental bits that the carers are going through, nobody really does highlight it enough. My daughter happens to be 16 when she became my carer, and it was quite hard. I've got 3 girls. So I just wanted to say thank you to the speakers and Joan. I've come to your platform a few times now, but this is just so close to my heart. And I would personally like to get in touch with Rose, Cynthia, and Errol after this, because I really feel there is more to do. There is so much taboo about once you get cancer. I talk about prostate cancer as well. I talk about all forms of cancer, but please get checked, do your MOT. I'm a single parent, but it's circumstances that has led to that. That's a story for another day. But I'm still working through I'm still going through it. So when you do have cancer and you've gone through the treatment, the journey's just started. I went through chemo and I went through radiotherapy. Unfortunately, I developed other things that came with it. I'm in bed talking to you now, but you know what? With people like Rose, with people like Errol and Cynthia and you, Joan, we can spread the word. We can save more lives. That's what I just want to, make an impact in the community. So it's just to say thank you. That's what I wanted to say. There's so many questions in my head. And I realize with Afro-Caribbean, what I raised is they do aftercare, but when you go to aftercare, there's nothing for Afro-Caribbeans. That area I realize. So I don't know if Rose can acknowledge that, but they don't have wigs for we Afro-Caribbeans. Because I went there, I was bald completely, and all I could get was, synthetic hair for more European and Asian. Even the makeup that you go for after. So these are areas I want to talk about because there's a lot of.
We can work together on that. Yeah. Laura, I'm really pleased that you said that because it's both ways really. Some of the drugs that we're put on, they don't agree with us.
Yes.
We need lower doses.
Yeah.
Some of the kidney cancer drugs, they deplete melanin, so they change people's skin color. That happened to our vice chair. She looked like a mixed race woman. We're actually working with, we just decided to work with those who work with us. I have no time to be wasting time. So we have a matron who was the chair of the BME staff group in the NHS, and she's brilliant. So we told her, do you know that oncology, I don't know about where you are, but I have been working in Nottingham for over 45 years, and we've only just had a Black breast cancer care nurse in the Breast Institute. And it was because our women said oncology is practically all white.
Yeah.
And the best way that you get things done is to get people like me in higher positions.
Yeah.
And Aqualine has been brilliant. And we are working with a lead cancer nurse who worked with us on the community clinic. So we're working with people who support us. And one of the things that we're working on now is to get a hair loss service that is fit for purpose, led by our hairdressers.
Yes.
So our hairdressers can I don't know if you get NHS vouchers in your area. Not everybody does, but they should.
Luton, and to be honest, why I even identify is because I'm into hair and beauty. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And so
we need to talk.
It's quite frustrating that but we need to speak out. We can't have this and go and hide.
I've been to the board.
Yeah,
I've
can I just add to
been
that?
on television.
Yeah, Rose, can I just add to that what you're saying? Listen, this is why why Joan's platform is so important, because there's organizations out there. We need to come together. We need to get this message under an umbrella, right? People need to know. People need to know about the fantastic work that you are doing, Rose, right? They need to understand what the lady Lanry,
it's
right. Yeah, we need to understand. I mean, and listen, what's so important about what you're saying, and Cynthia has alluded to it, is when a man has prostate cancer, the women become our carers, right? From day one. And they are still our carers, right? Even now, even when we come out the other side, the women are still there doing the 24/7, right? I would, as I said, my wife Sharon is a carer for me in every single way, and I'm not ashamed to say it. As a man, right, she's had to look after me like looking after one of the other children. So men, we need to recognize that. We need to understand, and if we have listen, we need to have these platforms like what Joan is doing, where the hairdressing people, we all know that for men, the barbershop is the place where everything is told, right, and everything is said. And I'm amazed that when I go into the barbershop, that's the only place, right, that I know men are likely to talk about their prostate issues, right? We need to amplify that. We need to spread that out there. But as an organization, particularly of Afro-Caribbean people, we need to bring all of those sources together so that we can understand. Because I'm not being funny, when it comes to you women, no one knows the makeup and the hair and it. Listen, I see it with my wife every day, right? When she's doing her hair or her makeup. As a man, we stand there and we admire that beauty, but we don't understand how much work you ladies go through to make that happen on a daily basis. As a man, we get up and we brush our teeth and we shower, right? So 9/10 of our work is done. But you women, it's a whole process. And all of that needs to be, we need to bring all those kind of communications together so that we know, right, the right kind of, cosmetics to use, right? When we're going through cancer treatment, understand there's a body that we can talk to, go to Rose and say, right, Rose, you are doing the research work on this. Can you enlighten me on this particular subject, right? Or this particular issue, right? Because, listen, database is important and it's never been more important than now.
Right, I'm going to quickly move on. Thank you very much for that, for sharing your story, Larry. Really appreciate you coming onto the platform.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just say thank you as well? Because some of our men are carers. My husband cares for me. He's always been trying to help me set up. And, my hair is like yours, Larry. It's a little bit longer. It needs cutting. That's why I've got the wig on. And I have my Afro wigs as well. But I want to, I had hair like this naturally. This is how long my hair was. But since I've been on the immunotherapy, some women's grows, some doesn't. But I have found that since I've stopped relaxing my hair and whatever, my scalp is so much better. But sometimes when people are on chemo, they get little white spots on their scalp. And I noticed it's more with the Black women, and they can join up and become infected. Antiseptic shampoo, antifungal shampoo, so we give tips like that, but we have carers in our support group, and many of our men and women who have cancer had to become carers for COVID as well. One of my best friends had prostate cancer in the West Midlands. We've done a report about it. He tells his story. He lost his wife after 3 weeks, who I didn't even know she was sick. She had lupus. These underlying conditions that we have, it's not just cancer anymore. Some people have 2 types of cancer. We've got one woman who's got one breast is hormonal cancer, and later she developed non-hormonal cancer in the other breast. I never heard of that before. But the research needs to be done so that we actually know how to treat each other. And I want Black hairdressers and Black beauticians on Look Good, Feel Better. I want Black, we've got 3 who are teachers as well. We've got one who does trichology, who have been trying to get the NHS vouchers for 2 years. We've decided that we're going to kind of do things ourselves in the community first. But there needs to be some workshops in the hospitals as well that are run by Black women, because nobody knows our skin and hair like us. And actually, Look Good, Feel Better are doing sessions for men as well, because you can lose your eyebrows. Mine aren't growing back properly. You can get vitiligo. I've got patchy skin, so I have to put, and I never had all that before. Yeah. So it's really important. And some of our men are still carers for people with long COVID and for women with breast cancer. And some of those men leave as well because they can't cope with it. They need help. So yeah, we will catch up, Lana. You're welcome to get my contact details off Joan.
Thank you. Right, well, Devon Morgan, you've been so patient. You wanted to ask a question from how long? So welcome to the platform, Devon. If you could put your camera on and ask your question, please.
I can see you, so how do I put the camera on?
Hi, Devon.
How do I put the camera on?
Press the button next to your mute, I think.
Well, it says stop video. There's a video button there that looks like a camera.
Start video?
Yes, Devon, that's it. Well done.
I've got a question.
Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, we can see you now. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay, well, I haven't got a question. I think Brother Errol mentioned about donation of ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my position is that I have written a book on the subject of cancer. It's the culmination of over 10 years research. So the book is called Demystifying Cancer, Exposing the Deception of No Cure for Cancer. So I'm gonna say a couple of ideas that they're gonna be shocking, but I can actually back up what I'm saying.
Yeah, needs to be said, Devon, needs to be said.
Well, I'm saying you probably won't be pleased that I'm saying it anyway. Let's have a go, right?
Yeah.
People don't actually die from prostate or breast cancer. After you've recovered from the shock, let me explain, right? Now, for cancer to kill you, it has to actually destroy an organ you can't live without.
Yeah, that's true.
Since you can live without your prostate and your breasts, that means you don't die from breast cancer or prostate cancer. But yet still it registered that if that's where they saw the cancer, that's where it is accumulated, and you eventually die, you're going to be listed as a prostate cancer death or a breast cancer death. But guaranteed it has to go to either, well, you could pick a major organ, the liver, the lung, wherever, right? That's not going to be the listing of what kills you. So why is it then they're making an highlight on these two particular types of cancer, since they are not a thing that actually kills? It can only be since cancer can appear on numerous locations on the body. Why do they highlight those two particular ones as if and they're not highlighting them from a location point of view? Because if that was the case, you wouldn't have special organizations dedicated to research cancer to do with the breast and the prostate. They are saying it's a unique type of cancer, which cannot be true since it has to migrate to some other organ and kill you. So the point is, I'm saying is that the other subheading of the book is that the cure for cancer has been known since 1924. And it was confirmed in 2009 by a research done by Cancer Research UK. The reason why we have known these things, because the solution does not involve the pharmaceutical industry. That is why those information has never been pushed and never been publicized and probably even never been brought to the attention of governments. So it was first promulgated by a German doctor called Otto Warburg in 1924, and he got a Nobel Prize for it. So they must have believed him. But nothing happened. 1924. The other point I want to make is the issue to do with how long have they been researching cancer? Apparently, it's been over 100 years they've been researching cancer. So the question is, what exactly are they researching? The obvious thing is this: to solve any problem, you have to what? Find the root cause. So that's the only thing they should be looking for that length of time. So the question is, are we human beings? I think we're a little bit brighter than if we were researching the root cause of something for over 100 years, we wouldn't find the solution. And I'm telling you that we did in 1924. But the solution never involved any drugs. And that is why when you have a drugs institution that takes over not just the solution for so-called diseases, but also the actual training of people who are supposed to administer. In other words, they are the ones who more or less formulate the training to do with doctors. So therefore, the training will always be something to do with some form of drugs. So people can only speak what they know.
Right, can I bring in each of you to give a shortish answer or a shortest response, because I'm conscious of the time. So who would like to jump in first with a quick comment on
let me start this one off. Thank you for that, Devon. What's important here is the communication and conversation, because there's and as Dr. Rose will tell you, right, there's so much fantastic technology going on, but unless we're in conversation and we're talking, right, we're not aware of what's going on in the terms of new developments, the improvement in testing. So first of all, we have to have this conversation. We need to be having this conversation on a regular basis so that we can be up to speed with what's out there, what's new, and what will help us in our testing. I think your testimony is excellent and it is to the point, but the facts still remain that we, as particularly us as Afro-Caribbean men, we need to be talking, and until we have these conversations like what friends and brethren do, right, we're not going to be addressing any situation, because if we're not going to the doctor, it don't matter what research is going on, unless you're going to the doctors or hospital, nothing's going to happen to you.
Well, I just told you that I wrote a book that have the solution for cancer.
Yes, yeah, and that is what we want.
You're all not curious what it is?
Oh, of course, we're always curious. The word cancer.
Why is it? I thought that would be the first question.
Yeah, the word, yes, but what I'm trying to say to you is, right, the word cancer, you're always going to be curious. When I was told, listen, cancer's been around for years, but it's the one word that when someone says it to you, it frightens you. So it is about, like what you're saying, it is about understanding what cancer is. But unless we're having a conversation or we're listening to people, right, we're not going to be doing anything about it. And that is what's important.
Right, Rose, would you like to jump in there? Thank you, Errol, for that.
I will, and thank you, Devon. I'm always interested in what everybody has to say. One of the things that I can clarify is that when cancer moves, as you know, it will use the blood system. Kidney cancer is very efficient at that, growing its own blood vessels. And actually, you only need one cell to break off and through the blood system go to another area. And that's often the bones with prostate cancer. And we know that through ACLT, African Caribbean Leukemia Trust, that the bone marrow is the blood making factory, and the blood flows slower through there. So if one cell gets stuck there and starts dividing, then you can have a problem with the bones. But when you test the cells, you always have to test the cells for secondary cancer. If you test the cells when it's breast cancer, you will see it's a breast cancer cell, and it's the same for prostate cancer. It's not. This isn't something that hasn't been researched over a long time. And I do challenge the farmers as well. But I also look at the evidence over 40 odd years as somebody who's studied it over 40 odd years. And the person who I think we really need to be looking at his work is Dr. Sebi. I'm sure you'll know who Dr. Sebi is, Devon. Cancer is not one type of disease. And I call it a condition rather than a disease. Disease means your body is not at ease. As I said, the biggest problem for us is that our immune systems are not what they used to be, and that we've been loaded with processed food, we don't exercise as much. We know that over half of all cancers could be prevented just by changing our lifestyle. That means eating healthier, not becoming obsessed with one type of food and not eating a balanced diet. And actually what we're going to have this year, in July, I think we're going to have an online food and nutrition and cancer conference. We did it in 2012 and highlighted the fact that vitamin D deficiency can also be linked to prostate cancer and some other types of cancer. And we know that the bigger charities were resisting that. And we're not putting like a disclaimer about, sun safety as well, because we need to get more sun. Bob Marley, I used to think it was lung cancer that he got, but actually he got a skin cancer under his big toenail that spread, melanoma, the most dangerous type. So if you find breast cancer cells in the liver, it's still breast cancer. So it will still be classified as breast cancer that actually did it. As I say, nowadays, and as Errol says, things have moved on a lot. And I'm at the forefront of how it's moved on. I believe that there will be cures for cancer in 3 to 5 years. But at the same time, I'm interested in quality of life. If that cancer treatment that you're having destroys your quality of life and actually leads to other complications that contribute to your death, then that's not good. if that cancer treatment depletes your melanin till your daughter, like our vice chair, says to you, but mommy, you don't look like mommy anymore. We need to be speaking about those things. So it's really important that we do listen to people like Devon as well, because they teach us as well. But it's also important that we have all the evidence, and that's where I'm at the forefront of that. I call out farmers, I call out government when they're not doing the things that is fair for everybody, particularly for those who are the most disadvantaged. And we know that Black men, we knew that when I started that we had less cancer because we were younger. But when I was leaving the charity in 2007, we knew that Black men had the same rates of cancer as the general British population. We didn't expect to see that in younger people because the majority of cancer, 65-70%, are in the over 65s. So Black men are twice as likely to develop stomach cancer. We have, it was the Chinese and East Asians that had more bowel cancer, but we're catching up. So Black women are twice as likely to die from breast cancer. And that means it's migrated. And I've seen this in my family, so I'm not just talking out of being an advocate for others. My mother, it spread to lots of places and we lost her very quickly. I don't like to talk about how many people we're losing. I want to let people know how they can live. And so I commend, but at the same time, I don't think unless you're right in the heart of it, you have all the information. And I certainly know that one of our men, he's recovered because he's had 2 types of hormonal treatment. He didn't have anything else, just tablets or injections, monthly injections, where others will have the same thing and it doesn't suit them. I'm on a group of women who've got secondary breast cancer, and there's one woman there, every single treatment, she's white British, that they've given her, it works for a couple of months and then it stops working. That's not normal. So one of the things that we're looking at now is personalizing, looking at, you know, what we call biomarkers, proteins in blood, to see. In Nottingham, we can actually take some blood, check it against the treatment and see if it's going to work for that person for breast cancer before they actually start. So it's not one size fits all. We need to personalize, and that's the direction I'm looking down now, because it's yeah, sorry.
Rose,
Yeah.
one of the things that I was going to say is that when she was diagnosed, it was all about prostate cancer, and we didn't realize that there was a historic side of it until a few years later, where they found out that the breast, if you had a family member who got breast cancer, that that you can get prostate cancer from that. So you know, it's all these different things with the linking that we found out. So you know, even though things might have been discovered so many years ago, we're still finding out that different things are interacting to cause other cancers, you know. And I was totally shocked when I found that out like several years ago. And then I think I sat down and thought about it, that on the male side of Hugh's family, that there was a lot of the boys, the siblings, had either prostate symptoms or prostate signs of early onsets of prostate cancer. But on the girl side, the mother side, the females in that family, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that I know of who got breast cancer.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, and it just hit home. It really hit home with me with that.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how many people who were from what they call the Ashkenazi Jewish population had breast cancer until they did a study in St. John's Wood, because lots of the families, more than one family member, were getting it, and that's how they found the BRCA genes, the breast cancer genes, because they were 80% more likely to develop it, and numerous members of the family were getting it. But they learned how to spot them so that they could check who had that gene before they developed it and take action. It's not common to be family history, but then I found out that, you know, my great-grandfather, we have a picture that we've only just found that was taken in Israel. And I know that they call my grandfather the Jew. So it could be coming through that same family route, because it's not so much breast cancer. But we have a lot to learn. And as I said, I'm very interested in Dr. Sebi's work because he went to court. New York authorities took him to court for claiming to cure lots of different things, not just cancer, and he won his case. He is no longer with us. He was based in Honduras. And you know, I have had Dr. Contreras from the Oasis Hospital over here, because he is a qualified oncologist, but their hospital is a private hospital, but it looks at everything. When people go there, they look at their diet for the type of cancer that they have, and their survival rates are I think it's 2 to 3 times higher, because they take it holistically. So I'm very interested in that. My grandmother was a midwife who used herbs and stuff like that. So great-grandmother. And they have better survival of mothers and babies in the Caribbean then. So I'm very interested in that. But I do think you need to know the whole picture, or you can't comment on it. You need to know how to interpret research as well. So sometimes I see research and I have to call it out because it's made an assumption. That's why we did the Cancer COVID Black cancer patients report, to say what had happened to them in lockdown.
I'm going to quickly jump in there because I'm 10 to 11 now. So Norma, you've had your hands up for quite a while. If you'd like to come on camera, say who you are, where you're calling in from, and go ahead and ask your question. Beautiful, Norma.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. I don't really want to ask a question. I just want to make a point. The older gentleman that just came on and was saying that there is a cure for cancer. I think it's important that we sometimes try to hear these people out, because I'm also a survivor. I'm the only survivor of the first heart valve replacement in this country as a child. So medical and other holistic therapy does work together. It's not just about medicine. It's also both of them. And I think it's very important that there is many testimony of people who've had cancer who has actually cured themselves. And some of our cancers, or all illnesses, one of the things that I found out when I was healed, that my illness also comes from an emotional place. That's also a root cause. And every illness that we have is manifested from an emotional place. And the physical illness is just telling us that we're thinking about these emotions, these pain and these hurt and these stuff. And all of this will compile together within the body when, you're not feeding it, when you're switching the body on and off. I'm a skincare specialist. I deal with skincare. I have loads of clients who do have cancer. And when their body is full of toxic, sitting 3-4 hours, cleaning that toxicity out of their skin to help the organ to stay alive and to breathe. So it is important. They have got a cure for cancer. How comes they can find a treatment for coronary disease in less than 12 months? And you mean to say we've been giving money for cancer research for umpteen years and they have not found a cure yet? They have the cure. But with all of these doctors and all of these things, it's all about making money. It's all about preserving their jobs. And the gentleman is not the first time. Hold on. You interrupted already when the other gentleman was trying to say something. They all go hand in hand. They have to come together. We have to come together as an holistic thing, join up, and so that we can know we need to help ourselves, because the medical profession and the pharmaceuticals, with the drugs they're pumping, they're not helping us. Since I've had I had the first heart valve replacement in this country. It was a plastic one. I survived for 52 years without an aspirin, without anything. And when it started becoming a little bit malfunction because it was quite old, I had a new one put in 3 years ago. I wanted to have not a mechanical one, but I ended up having to have one because there was keloids and they had the only one they could find. Now I'm on warfarin. That is actually something that I've had to really, really take charge myself. I test myself. I can't allow these doctors. You know, my surgeon, he's one of the top professor. And he said to me, Norma, you know, you've taught me so much and I'm a top professor. I wouldn't even let anybody go in to touch my heart and open me up if they and I did not connect together. So what I'm trying to say, we kind of have to put it all together and join up. So I didn't really appreciate, because I think he had some very important information to give us, because it's not the first time we know that the cancer cure has been there for so many years, but yet still they're feeding us with other stuff. So although the what's going on right now and the research and some of the stuff, some of it kills us as well. It doesn't always cure us. It kills more than it cures. And that's why we also have to have the holistic stuff.
Norma, let me say something. Listen, can I say something? I am supporting you and Devon are saying. That's what I'm. Listen to what I said. What I said was, listen to what I said. No, it's not confrontation. What I said is, this is why we need you and Devon. This is why we need what you and Devon are saying, because it's not being said. And he made a valuable point about it. You know, he was telling us, and we need to have a better understanding about the word cancer. And that's also, I'm supportive of Devon and yourself, because
you might support him, but he just got cut off when all of us here, you know, when somebody tells you that you've got cancer, the first thing you do, you shut your immune system down, because the fear and emotional, and you shut it down. So whatever was going on emotionally, it becomes even more. Even the biggest heart surgeon who did the first, Deepak Chopra did the first heart transplant in this country, in the whole world. He stopped doing it because he realized that all sickness comes from emotion. And he goes around teaching us different ways in which we can help ourselves, and we don't always have to rely. So it works hand in hand. I mean, I knew my valve needed to be replaced, and I studied all the operation. If I could have opened my chest and did it myself, I would have been able to do it myself. But the reason why I survived over 50 odd years, not one of them knew that I was around, after I'm the only person in the whole country as a child who survived. Everybody else died, all my friends from Jamaica to everywhere, and I survived. You know why I survived? Because my mental attitude. And when I had my last one a couple 3 years ago, my surgeon said to me, he has never seen anybody get up.
Oh, you're frozen.
Sorry, you're frozen.
Right, come in.
Can I just come in there? We're going to have the Food, Nutrition and Cancer Conference, and I'm going to invite people.
That you and the student, you and your patients survive properly. I have to go to work.
All right, you've been muted.
Yeah.
Okay, not to worry.
Yeah.
Right. Errol, you want to quickly come in? Rose, quickly come in, because I'm conscious of.
We're going to have the Food, Nutrition and Cancer Conference, because that's very much about this. And we've already said it's holistic. As I say, cancer isn't just one type of treatment. I speak practically from my mother, who went holistic, and we lost her quickly. And I've supported a lot of people who don't want treatment, because as long as they've had that information, I'm ready to support them. But I'm going to be honest, we've seen a lot of deaths, and it's often this thing. There are cures for cancer. People are cured from cancer. There are more people who are living now who have been diagnosed with cancer than are dying from it. And we know with children, I used to head the children's team, over 90% of them are cured now. So we are seeing big changes. But I would actually, as somebody who's been working with this for such a long time and very interested in herbalism, and even though, you know, they told me that I shouldn't put needles in my swollen arm, I found out that the Chinese do it and they don't spread cancer, and my arm has come down and I'm having reflexology. Nobody else has done that. And I'm encouraging our doctors to look at it now. So I go, you know, opposite way a lot of times, because I come from a family like that. But I would basically just, only Dr. Sebi, as far as I'm aware, has really proven that what he's been doing has really been curing cancer. And we need to look at what he's been doing. But cancer, as I said, is 220 types of different conditions. Kidney cancer loves a rich blood supply. I haven't seen one thing that cures it. I wish there was, but I see it practically. I support people. So I am going to just come in from that perspective. Been doing it for 45 years. We now have been collecting the statistics on those who go it alone, and we know that they're twice as likely to die. So, and usually quite horribly as well. We saw it during the pandemic as well. So we want to stop that. And I don't want to see people go through what my mother went through. My father had the first bypass operation. He was 51 shortly after my mum died, and all the men around him died. And yet, because of our supporting him holistically, he lived till he was 84. So, and you know, heart conditions have improved a lot more since then. But it is about, you know, knowing how to have a good immune system, and also knowing how to eat well, exercise well, and actually help yourself, self-help.
Sorry, Rose, can I quickly bring in Errol, because he's had his hand up for quite a... Unmute yourself, Errol. That's it.
Yeah. Listen, I just wanted to add to what Norma and Devon have said. It's very, very important what they've said, because Devon has to give us the information of his book, because it will give us an understanding of the word cancer that a lot of us don't know. And listen, but that's why we need these ideas. Norma has talked about how she's cured herself. You know, there is this is why we need this information. So I wasn't having a go at Devon. I was encouraging him to give us the details of his book. We need to be reading that. You know, Norma, we need to be hearing from ladies like yourself, right, who have found a cure, right? Because we need to understand the word cancer. A lot of us do not understand what it is, what it means. And, you know, we're only embracing the shock that it gives us. I've seen Devon come back in anyway.
Yeah, fucking let the man talk. No.
Okay, right. Just a quick short, because we've gone way over. So I'm good. Can you unmute yourself, Devon?
I am not mute. Can you hear me?
All right, we can hear you now.
What I'm saying to you is that I am saying that in 1924, the root cause of cancer, every problem solved at the root. That root cause was reconfirmed in 2009. Nobody has asked me what that is. And I'm saying that I'm just finding curious that people are saying they support me, but they're not asking me any question. And I'm saying to you, right, that what they have found out rubbish the idea that cancers are different. They confirmed it in 2009 that all cancers have the same characteristics. They confirmed that in 2009. I have the thing documented in my book. And I'm saying to you that, pardon me?
What's your book called?
It's called Demystifying Cancer.
Okay. Well, it's a bit difficult to have a one-to-one conversation because we're on an open platform. So I can hear, I know you've put your point across really eloquently, but we've got to kind of like wind this down now. And we'll probably do a part 2 of this session and bring other speakers in, and you could perhaps be a guest on the platform. So I'm going to ask each of the panelists to, what is your parting message? So Chris, Big Chris, AKA, are you? Right, Big Chris, are you here? Can you give us your parting message to guests on the platform? I don't know where, is Chris here? No? Right.
No, Chris got another appointment. So
He's gone, okay. Rose, Dr. Rose Thompson, what's your parting message to guests on the platform? Oh, let's unmute you. Unmute yourself, please.
Unmute yourself, please, Rose.
Oh, that's it, yeah. Thank you. Are you still? Right, unmute yourself. Hold on.
Rose, could you unmute yourself at your end, please? Yeah, thank you.
That's it.
So,
yes.
if Devon could advertise his book online, and he's welcome to talk to me as well. I'm just really talking from the front line. you know, we lost a 43-year-old and recently, and she could have lived. And this happens a lot because people, you know, have been told there's a cure-all and whatever, and they follow it. And then when they get into trouble and try and contact people who advise them, there's no communication there. So we've had to pick up people frequently who are very advanced. Talking from that experience, including my mother, I don't want anybody to go through what my mother went through. So, you know, I'm happy to support people who want to raise awareness and to look at the evidence that they're looking at as well. And I don't think anybody should be gagged.
No, not.
And I hope you didn't feel that that was happening, Devon, but I'd love to know more about your book as well.
Yeah.
So, as I say, I've been semi-retired, but thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you to everybody who spoke. Thank you, Joan, for facilitating this. It's really important.
Thank you. Errol, what is your parting message to guests on the platform? Thank you, Rose, Dr. Rose Thompson. Let's ask one. Can you mute yourself, please, Errol? Unmute. That's it, you're here.
Yeah, so my parting message is, you know, Joan, I want to thank you for today because, you know, this is why we need to have these forums and these conversations because, you know, we've heard some great examples as to our understanding and learning about the word cancer, particularly. And, you know, when it comes to prostate cancer, there is, you know, much work needed to be done on that. We have come a long way from when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. The research work is better, but I want to go back to just as 2 pointers. You know what, we do need to understand, and that's why I wasn't cutting in on Devon. I wanted to make a point of how important that message is that he, right, and the lady herself was bringing on board, because we're still learning about cancer, and that's why the Errol McKellar Foundation was set up, so that we could have this voice. We're not always going to agree on every single thing, but we need to learn. That's the most important thing. And listen, it's not me who's going to make a difference. It's going to be we. So we want people not to just donate to the foundation, also bring their ideas as well. So thank you on behalf of the Errol McKellar Foundation.
Oh, thank you very much. And the beautiful Cynthia Dyson. What's your parting message to guests on the platform, please, Cynthia?
I'd like to thank you, first of all, Joan, for inviting me and all the other speakers that have been on. And this word always sticks in my mind. And when I do seminars, I always go by this. Never. They say ignorance is bliss, but what I'm saying is never allow ignorance to be bliss. You know, if you don't know the question or the answer, seek someone who does. You know, at the end of the day, we cannot keep on going to these doctors and consultants and everything else and not be aware of what is going on with our own bodies, you know. And at the end of the day, if it wasn't for Rose, I would never know that I had the right to ask for the doctors to tell me in layman terms what's happening. And I think that's important, you know. Don't let them put on you the medical terminology. Ask them to tell you what is going on.
Thank you very much for that. All I can say, what a powerful session this has been this morning. Absolutely phenomenal. We've touched on the subject of, you know, prostate cancer and other cancers as well. This just demonstrates we have got a wealth of expertise and knowledge in our community. And like I always say, you know, together we are definitely stronger. It's a platform where we can talk about topics that affect us. And I'm just so grateful to be able to do this. All panel together of phenomenal speakers on all different topics. Saturday mornings are about empowerment. It's about knowledge. It's about learning. Every week we have different people coming onto the platform. And I hope and I pray if this session touches one person, I say, thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. because that's what it's about. It's about us supporting each other, especially in this pandemic. You know, it scares me to bits, the amount of people that are out there now, because we've been on this lockdown, they haven't been able to access services. It's scary, so scary. Please, if you've got anything that's bothering you, pain or anything that just feels unusual, contact the professionals, seek help. The NHS is open. Yeah. All our presenters, please put your contact details into the chat, because I know there's a whole raft of people here, whole raft of guests on the platform that want to connect. They want to support the charities. They want to get involved. They've got ideas. Yeah. And it's really about us coming together. We can't just sit back and just be looking and watching and criticizing, oh, they're doing this and they're doing that. We have the power to make a difference. We have got the power to drive change. When you look at what we've come through in history, how strong, resilient and powerful we are. We can do this. Us as queens, I've got some phenomenal ideas. And those of you that know me, my head is always ticking and buzzing with ideas. We are going to be we don't just chat. Yeah, we are going to be doing stuff to support all you guys as charities, because we know you need the help. And when you say you've got to be putting your own money, yeah, your own money into these charities to make things happen, well, what does that tell you? And we talk about the black pound. The black pound is powerful. So come on, people, step up. Let's chat. Let's do this. Let's do this. So on that note, I'm going to be winding down. Just want to thank everybody for being on the platform. We've had Big Chris Joseph, aka Big Chris. He's powerful brother, powerful prostate cancer survivor. Dr. Rose Thompson, director of Be Me Cancer Communities. Cynthia Dyson, founder and co-director of the Hugh Dwyer Inspirational Foundation. I've yet to come to one of the charity dinners, but we're coming from London. We're coming from London. Errol McKellar, MBE, he's got the MBE for all of us. He says it all the time. But we commend you, Errol, for the amazing work that you're doing. Founder of the Errol McKellar Foundation and prostate cancer survivor. And this is the message. You've got prostate cancer and you can survive. You can live your best life. Yeah. We've had people here testifying to that. There is life after prostate cancer. Yeah. So I hope a lot of what I've said this morning has resonated with you. So I'm going to quickly wind down. To hear about Future Queens walking group events, please check us out. Follow us on Eventbrite. You'll get the instant notification when it goes up, when its free tickets go up for you to book and come on whatever event we're going to be doing next. Next week, we're doing Black Business. This Zoom event has been recorded. It's been live streamed through Facebook, and it's also been live streamed through YouTube. Yeah. So you're not going to miss out. You can watch it again and again and again. Yes. So it just leaves me to, I must tell you a bit more about our walking group. So as you know, we're a walking group. Yes, we're a walking group, Queen's Walking Group. And my fantastic business partner has been posting into the chat all about the walking group. We have now got nearly 20 groups. So I've got to read my list because there's so many. So we've got a Queen's Walking Group in East London, one in Birmingham, one in Croydon, Manchester, Luton, Harrow and Stanmore, Greenwich, Milton Keynes, Gants Hill, Enfield and Oakwood, and Hatfield and Welwyn Garden. And this week, we have also had Brixton come on board, Tottenham walkers, they've come on board, Wembley, they've come on board. And those of you who know me, exercise is key because I like to keep it moving. Yeah, exercise is key, good diet, everything that goes with that holistic health. We come from a health background. That's what we love. Yeah, and that's what we're called. We love health and well-being. So guys, I'm going to wish you have a fabulous Saturday. Whatever you're doing, enjoy, keep spreading the message. You know, a lot of you that were on the platform, talk to your dads, talk to your brothers, talk to your men friends. Yeah. Talk, get that message out there. Love you all. This is Joan, Queen of Queens, signing out. Have a fantastic day, everybody. Bye-bye. Bless everybody. I'm going to stop live stream. And I'm going to stop.
I'll start from verse 6. Since it is righteous thing.
We can talk now.